All right, all right. I apologize to keep everybody waiting, but I just had to do something real quick. I'll tell you, I brought a damn can out here, right, a drink can, and as I go to open it, I look on it, and there's just a couple like crumbs in between the where you would put your mouth at, right, to drink from the can. So I've been sitting here trying to get that cleaned, and of course out of any time I wouldn't have a damn wipe with me or something is the one time I have that type of issue. But hey, as the scriptures say, it's not that which enters the man that defiles him, but that which comes out. So, you know, if you do eat without washing your hands or, get germs in your mouth, it's gonna go through your body, it's not gonna defile you. So I don't always clean them off because, hey, the particles that might have got on them through the transportation uh, process or whatever, it's not going to defile you. Hey, what's up? What's up, Day Freak? Long time no see, man. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, you know, I try to do streams whenever I can. It's just, again, I'm in a tough scenario right now where it hinders me from doing what I need to do. You know what I'm saying? So, whenever I get the opportunity, um, whenever I get the opportunity, I try to do so. Yeah, he said thanks, great to see you. Yeah, that's all cool, man. Um, so yeah, I figured I'd just give everybody a little treat tonight and go live for maybe an hour, maybe hour and a half, depends on whatever I'm feeling like. Um, Shit, I might even bring a person or two up here because it's funny because we've been having a couple scoffers and scorners that have been stopping by some of my streams within the last month or so. And I always tell them, it's like, hey, look, man, next time I'm live, just let me know, like make your presence known in the comment section, and I'll drop a link for you, and you hop up here, and we can have a friendly back and forth as to subject of your choice. Yo, how you doing, Jay? Right, Jay's in the house down there. So, a lot of stuff's been happening recently, right? A lot of stuff's been going down. Um, so some of you might not have seen, but recently I went on to Babel On's channel, which is Jamie, right? That Rainbow Christian for Jesus, which I know he's trying to change, right? He's trying to change his ways. So, credit to him, right? Jamie's always been respectful with me whenever I go to his platform. So I do got to give the guy credit that he does hold a respectful, platform over there on this channel. I do got to give him props for that. Do got to give the guy credit. Um, but the reason I bring it up is maybe a week ago now, I went on to his channel, and this cat, God's Integrity Pathways, which that name might ring a bell if you've been watching recent videos. Let me answer this real quick. They freak said Jamie the Sunday Adventist. No, no, no. I'm not talking about Jamie Russell. There's another guy named Jamie. His YouTube channel is called Babble On or Babble Off. His name's also Jamie. So don't get it confused. There's two different Jamies. There's the Jamie Russell guy, which is the SDA Christian, and then there's the ex Rainbow Christian Jamie from Babble On channel. Just to clarify that confusion. So anyway, if you've been paying attention for the last maybe 2 weeks on my channel, I've been going back and forth with this guy that calls himself God's Integrity Pathways. And this guy was like part of Terry Green's cult, and then he got kicked out over some bullshit that he did or something like that. And me and this guy were going at it in the comment section. And I kept telling the guys like, hey, look, man, you don't need to sit on my live streams or in my video comment section and put up like 75 damn comments. It's like, why don't you just call into a stream and let's just have a conversation? I literally told the guy this over an entire nearly 2 damn week period or whatever. I know it was at least a damn week. Felt like longer. And, I was getting annoyed. It's like, pissing me off. It's like, dude, you know, you can believe whatever you want. I don't really care. But, if you're going to sit there and run your mouth, it's like, why don't you just come on stream and we can have a dialogue as to the topic of disagreement? Like I don't get how that's like so mind blowing. You know what I'm saying? Inside joke. But I don't know how that's like such, a mind blowing thing to propose. You know what I'm saying? So, long story short, we end up agreeing to go on to Jamie's channel and do a conversation. So, I think the conversation went pretty smooth. I mean, hey, look, I'm just gonna keep it real with you, right? I already saw it coming a mile away. When I went in there with this dude, I was gonna slam dunk on this guy, right? I was gonna knock the ball out of the park and then run multiple home runs on this guy. Like, I mean, seriously, right? All jokes aside, for anybody who actually watched that conversation, which, side note, if you have not watched a conversation, if you go on my video list, it was uploaded maybe like 4 or 5 days ago, and it's a 2 hour long video. You'll see it there. I believe I entitled the video something along the lines of God's Integrity Pathways versus ETT, the Ultimate Showdown. That's what I entitled the video if you want to check out the full conversation that me and Pathways had. Again, I give the guy credit. At first he was, all scared and didn't want to come up. But eventually he suckered up to it and actually came up and had a conversation. So I will give him credit on that he did come up and actually talk. But, my prediction was already proven true that this is going to be this is going to be a steamroll. That this is just going to be a cakewalk for me. Like I mean, it was pretty brutal, man. If you watched that from his side, it was pretty brutal. I mean, damn. It's I don't even know what the hell to say at this point, man. Other than it was brutal, right? It was absolutely brutal for him. But again, I still kept it peaceful with him. I still kept it friendly and respectable. But man, he was in way over his head there. Jay said, Pathways, I think, is sub to me. I see him comment sometimes. That's funny, man. The guy's channel is actually growing quite quick. I believe it was at last time I checked, like say last week or whatever, when the cat first came around, it was at like 200 and something. Now he's at like what, 550 or something like that. So his channel is growing quite quick, right? That what's the word I'm looking for? That illness is spreading abroad. That periism illness, right? That free grace pathogen, which I should probably watch the code words I use on YouTube because some of those might be a trigger word. So I'll watch what I say. Let me see. Rudy, hey, what's up, Rudy? Glad to see you here. Rudy said, at least it only took a week. Yeah, I mean, again, even though I'm here slam dunking on this guy, literally running multiple home runs on this dude, you know, I still give him this. At least it only took a week for the guy to man up and actually come on for a conversation. Because there's cats out there that will run from a discussion for literally years, such as a few honorable mentions would be Andrew Ashby, aka Day Damn Devil Demon Dreadlord, aka the Southern Israelite. This other cat out there, I believe the cat's name was the Faithful Servants of Jesus or something like that. Some of these cats I've been literally asking for to do like an hour-long discussion, literally for years. Like Andrew Ashby, I first started to ask that guy back in like 2017. And this Faithful Servants guy, I've asked him in like 2019. This guy still won't do it. And then Drake, aka Southern Israelite, that cat ran from me since 2019, and then I finally um got to due to discussion with him, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, right? So he was running a good solid 3 years from me. Let me see. Brother said, would you consider yourself based in red pilled or black pilled? I don't get what the black pilled is. I know about the scene from the Matrix movies. I don't think you're referring to that, so I can't answer the question. The freak said, Perry isn't free grace, he's reckless grace. I mean, hey, look, in my book, man, in my book, they're the same, right? Free grace is reckless grace, right? Do whatever the hell you want as long as you believe in sweet baby Jesus, and then everything's okay. So again, what do you call it? Free grace, reckless grace? In my eyes, it's all the same thing. Hell, Perryism is basically free grace. Even if they don't call it that, it's like a spin-off of it, right? It's a clear knockoff version of it. Right, like say for instance, man, like Perry's group that he's running, that's like the whole. Say for instance, like if you go to a grocery store, you'll see those aisles. They have the knockoff brand cereals, right? Right, that's what this guy Perry is over there, right? He's a knockoff brand, right? Like, oh man, right? Instead of damn fruity pebbles, it's gonna be rainbow pebbles. It's a good way to describe that guy, right? That just a knockoff version. Hey, how you doing? How you doing, Fred? Good to see you stop by. Um, I wouldn't I wouldn't go under any of the umbrellas, man. I don't subscribe to the right side or the left side. Yo, we got the Layman Seminary, aka the Layman Cemetery in the house. Yo, what's up, Layman? Yo, you want to come up here, man? I'll drop a link for you if you want to hop up on stage. Which, to be fair, I think I brought this guy in strategically because I put the word free grace in the name of the stream. So just like a damn, casting my rod out and catching a damn fish, I reeled this guy in. I mean, seriously. Yeah, the freak said Timu Terry. Shit, I don't know if you're making fun of that cat Perry or that guy Terry from Jamie's channel. I mean, hey, look, Terry's not the sharpest knife in the drawer or brightest bulb in the box. And I'm not even being mean to the cat. I'm just being serious. Jay said, I know Layman Seminary. Yo, Layman, just so you know, I seen the debate that you did with the Sons of Thunder camp. Like, maybe, what was it? Maybe like a week ago it was uploaded. But yeah, I watched it. It was a decent conversation. It was a decent conversation by both sides. But I did check that out. Let me see. Actual Perry. Yeah, but Perry's just a damn knockoff version, man. That's all that guy is. Same thing with this guy. What's this cat? Pathways? Right, with this guy Pathways. I'm gonna put a link in the chat, but this is only for the Layman Cemetery. Let me see. I believe the brother's name is Charles, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he said his name was Charles the last time I seen him. But as far as I remember, we never got to actually have a conversation before. So yeah, Charles, if you want to hop on, there's a link down there pinned for you. Well, maybe not pinned, but I just put it down there. There we go. Yo, Layman, you there?
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Just been studying for my final
Oh, that's cool, man. You in college or something?
seminary.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. Hell, man. You know, I don't know if you know who Apostle Dahar is, man, but he would call that the cemetery, right? You're not in theological seminary school. You're in theological cemetery school.
That's all right. I bury people in exegesis, so that works for me.
I mean, hey, it might be so, man. It might be so. But anyway, I know that you're from the free grace standpoint, correct?
Yes.
In fact, I would even go as far to say you're like one of the main leaders in that belief, right? Like I see you on all these other channels as like one of these top guys on there, right?
I'm active on YouTube, I'll put it that way. I mean, I've had 33 formal debates mainly in that topic. Uh yeah.
Okay. I've seen a few of your debates, such as like you've done ones about like once saved, always saved. Like, is it possible for a believer to lose their salvation? And
Mhm.
stuff like that, which is an interesting topic of conversation, right? So, just for the audience listening, if you can, like, say, in maybe like 2 minutes, could you like fill everybody in as to your belief on like free grace in like 2 minutes?
Yeah, so free grace is the most consistent form of once saved, always saved. We believe that if you believe the gospel for one moment, you're eternally secure. You are eternally preserved, even if you don't temporally persevere. You can apostatize in the temporal realm, but you can't fall from the eternal realm. And so, what that means is that we believe that Christians can fall into sin, drugs, lifestyle. They can even deny Christ, and they're still eternally secure. And we believe that free grace can reach every person. These other systems, they're like, nope, you lost your salvation, or they'll say, uh, oh man, you were never saved in the first place. Free grace says, no, we take the promises seriously and we take the warning seriously.
Yeah, that's an interesting view, but let me ask you on this, right? You said like you just have to believe for like a moment and then you're like saved forever. Is that what you said?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So like say for instance, right, like if say if you go to church when you're like 7 and say you believe in Jesus, does that mean you're secured for the rest of your life? Because you believe for like a couple minutes?
Yes, if you believed him, yes.
Okay. Like, say, for instance, like, I don't know about you, but I used to go to a Catholic school for a couple years of my life, right? And, everybody
Mhm.
there was Catholic. Now, I guarantee you, if I was to reach out to some of my friends from back then, here we are, like, what, 10 years later or whatever. If I was to reach out to them and see how they're living today, I would bet money that half of them don't believe on Christ anymore. So even if they're out there living unrighteously, even if some of them become, porn stars or, hooked onto some of these, drugs out here, you would still say that they're all still saved forever because they might have believed in Jesus in fifth grade.
Well, the whole thing is if they believed, yes, they're eternally secure. It's based on the promise of God.
But how do you know if they truly believe or not? Because it
Oh,
would
I
just go
don't.
by
That's
confession of mouth, right?
I know I don't. I mean, I accept them in faith. If someone says, "Hey, I'm a Christian," now if I meet someone, they're saying I'm a Christian, but I'm no longer a Christian, or I'm a Christian and I'm living in this lifestyle, I'll do my best to disciple them if I have that opportunity, remind them of loss of rewards and divine discipline and consequences like that. But I usually tell a person, like, I encounter people all the time that say, I used to be a Christian. Like, well, if you believe the gospel one moment in time, you're eternally secure. So I'm not trying to evangelize you. I'm just trying to remind you about what you originally believed, and we can work through all the other struggles you got.
Right, I understand. Like say I'll give you a personal example, right? Like I knew a guy that I grew up with, like many years this guy was in the church, and active and all that. But then here it is now, when I reach out and talk to the dude, now he doesn't believe in Christ anymore. And now believes in Hinduism, right? So he worships like 300 different gods now, and Christ is not one of them.
Mhm.
So even though that the Bible says that you're not supposed to worship any other god before him, you guys would still say that he's saved eternally, even if he goes out and worships all these false pagan idols and now
Yes.
rejects Christ.
Yes. That's correct.
Okay, so what just to piggyback off of this, like if you read John the third chapter, which I know you're familiar with that because everybody knows that chapter, right? But if you read it, it says, "He that believes not, he's already condemned." So if I go up to my friend now and ask him if he believes, he says he doesn't. So wouldn't that mean he's already condemned because he confesses he doesn't believe?
No, because in context, what it's saying, John 3:18 says he's condemned because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son. So the whole issue is that he has never believed. But if he believed at one time, that's a different class. That's a different issue. He's still eternally secure. Unbelief doesn't reverse salvation because belief doesn't save you. We say saving faith, but that's really a cliche or shorthand because we have faith, but when we place it in the right object, that's when it becomes efficacious. When we trust in the promise of God in the gospel, that's whenever our faith becomes efficacious.
Well, a good person to bring up on this topic is like, what would you say about Judas, the man who betrayed Christ for that 30 some pieces of silver? Would you say that he still saved them even though he betrayed Christ?
Well, it's a good question because let me. I don't believe that Judas is saved, but I don't see anything in Scripture that argues that he's not saved. I mean, I know all the arguments about why people say he uh, was not saved, and they're not strong to me. I'm not going to argue for his salvation, but I'm open to the possibility. I'll put it that way.
If I'm not mistaken, because I don't have the Bible right in front of me, but isn't there a passage in there that speaks about it was referring to Judas? It says like greater is it's going to be a bad day in judgment for that man that betrayed the
Yeah,
son. Like, you know the verse I'm
yeah,
referring to?
it says it'd be a woe to that man. It said it'd be better for him that a millstone be tied around his neck. But that's just talking about consequences. You know, if I tell you, hey, uh, you cross this line, you're going to be swimming with the fishes. It doesn't mean you're going to hell. It means you're going to die. You know.
Real quick though, could you clarify when it says it's going to be bad in judgment for that man that betrayed Christ? Like, what does that mean? Like,
Well,
what do you describe
Well,
that as?
believers go to a judgment seat of Christ, and so they get evaluated not to determine their destination, but to determine their degree or rank. Not all Christians are going to rule and reign with Christ.
But doesn't the Bible say everybody's going to have to appear before him? Like, I'll give you an example. Like, if you read, I want to say that Second Corinthians 5:10, it says, "For we must all appear before the
Right?
judgment seat of
Yeah.
Christ and get judged for
Yes.
the things done in our flesh, whether they be good or bad." So you'd
Right.
say that all means everybody, right?
Well, that all means Christians in context because that's who the book of Corinthians is written to. And the word, whether good or bad, it could be translated as whether worthless or
But real
worthwhile.
quick though, but real quick on that, so you would agree with me that sometimes the word all or everybody doesn't literally mean everybody in the world. It can mean a group of people.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Context
Hey, that's a
context
point we could agree
determines
on.
Yeah, context determines the meaning of any word. Words don't have meaning in themselves typically. They have usage, and context determines their meaning.
Here's another one for you. What do you think about? Because here's a good one I found recently. I use on some of my vids. If you look up, was that First Timothy 4:1? It says, "Reverend, know that in the last times some will depart from the faith."
The
So
faith,
when I
right?
read that, real quick, I'll give my understanding of it. When I read that and break it down, I would say it's clearly telling us that in the last times, which we believe we're in, there are going to be some people who believe for a season of time, but then they're going to fall away out of the faith and no longer be a believer anymore. So we would say those people are not going to be saved if they follow Christ and go back into the world. I'll give you another example before I let you chime in. Like if you read Luke chapter 9, verse 62, it says, if any man puts his hand to the plow, right, to do God's work, and then he looks back, he's not fit for the kingdom of God. So that would clearly show that that person, he can put his hand to do God's work and then look back, right, go back into the world, and then no longer be considered to be worthy of God's kingdom. So that's two verses for you. I'll throw it back to you.
So First Timothy 4, the Spirit expressly says in latter days some will depart from the faith. The Greek te piste can refer to the doctrines of Christianity, but as you know, me being free grace, I believe that even if you fall away from the faith, you're still eternally secure because that's a decision you made in time, and what's done in time can't reverse what's done in eternity. Now, there are some other passages in Second Timothy I could go to, but I want to go back to that Luke one that you mentioned. I take that passage about discipleship, and fit for the kingdom means suitable in the sense of being ruling and reigning there. So it's not about salvation from the lake of fire. It's about who is going to be, worthy as a disciple now. And because he had a limited time, man, and he needed some ride or die people. And and that's what Jesus was looking for. So it wasn't about salvation, it was about the mission.
Right, I understand your viewpoint on it. And real quick, if you got anything for me, you're welcome to bring that up. I obviously hold to I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Some of you might refer to us as works-based salvationists, but I wouldn't use that term. But just so you understand our premise on it as Hebrew Israelites, we teach not only do you have to believe on Christ to get to heaven, you have to, on one hand, you have to believe, and then you also have to follow what he taught, such as keeping God's commandments. And I'll give you an example. Like if you read was that scripture? I want to say John 15:13 on down. It says, greater love has no man than this, that if a man gives his own life for his friends, then Christ told the apostles, you are my friends, as long as you continue in whatsoever I've taught you. But there's the key thing, though. He said, as long as you continue in whatsoever I taught you. So clearly, it's possible to not be a friend of Christ after a while if you don't continue in what he taught. So I think that's a good hitting point there in John the 15th chapter, verse 13 on down, because he says, you're my friend as long as you continue in what I taught you. But that would imply that you can stop continuing in it.
Yeah, you
So
can't.
what do you think about that?
Oh, you're not his friends when you're not continuing with that. He says, I no longer call you servants, I call you friends, because a servant doesn't know what his master is doing. I call you friends. There's a concept in the Bible called the medikoi, which were in the Roman times, it was the friends of Caesar. It's kind of like the inner circle. And so, he tells his disciples that they're going to rule on 12 thrones and things like that. So
Right.
there's specific promises given to them in some of these passages. And you're right. If you're not continuing and doing those things, you're not a friend. James chapter 4 says, don't you know that friendship with the world is enmity with God? Therefore, whoever makes himself a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God.
But hey
But,
man,
but,
let me ask you on
but,
that real quick though, because
mhm.
with your free grace belief, you guys that would seem like it contradicts what you just said though, because with the
No,
free grace of you, just let me finish real quick. With the
okay.
free grace of you just have to believe your lifestyle and how you live. That's again, you can live righteously, but it's not required in the free grace belief. So I would say that just contradicts the text there from the free grace belief. You can go ahead.
No, in our view, we recognize that there's one condition to go to heaven, if you will, to have eternal life, to reach that destination, and that's at one moment of belief. There's other commands that are given for our growth and our sanctification, and those are good things to do. Um, so it doesn't contradict. Like if you say, "Hey, man." because I remember in my teenage years it was like this. Man, dude, take me to let's go to the city, man, and ride the drag or whatever. And he's like, well, you got to do a gas run, or you got to put gas in the car, right? Like, okay, fine. So I'm in the car with my homeboys or something like that. But at the same time, just because I'm in the car, don't mean I get to operate the radio. Don't mean I get to smoke weed in there and do all that type of stuff. Uh, I and just because I'm in the car, that's one condition, but there's other conditions about that. So it's not a contradiction. It's two different things. One of them gets me in the car, and the other one talks about my experience while I'm in the car.
I hear you. Real quick, if you do want to share your screen, you're welcome to bring it up. Just a side note for you. But real quick, how would you break down? I'm sure you're familiar with Matthew the 13th chapter when Christ gave that parable about the seeds, and
Mm-hmm.
he broke down one of the seeds, which I can't pull it up here, but if you want to read it, if you read Matthew 13 verse 20 to like 23, he gives the breakdown of one of these seeds that fell into a certain ground. And he said, "This is he that believes for a season, but then when tribulation arises because of the word, he goes back into the world." So it would appear that this man believed in Christ for a season, but then turned and went back into the world. So I would
Yes,
just
that's
ask you,
correct.
just real quick out of curiosity, doesn't that prove that somebody can believe on Christ for a season and then stop believing him?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Okay, so how could it be once saved, always saved then if you agree that you can
Well,
believe in Christ for a while and then stop believing?
because one moment of belief has eternal results. See, free grace teaches that if you stop believing, so I use the illustration of Spider-Man. Have you seen my Spider-Man chart?
Spider-Man chart. I've heard you reference it, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, all right. Well, you know the story of Spider-Man. So the one moment of belief is like when he gets bit by the spider. When he got bit by that spider, it has a consequence on him. Now he's Spider-Man, okay? And yeah, I know in different comics and different things he loses his power, but in this universe that I'm talking about, he doesn't lose his power, okay? So he gets bit by the spider. That was a one moment thing. But now he can decide in his walk in his life whether he's going to be fulfilling his purpose as Spider-Man or if he's just going to be like a bum, lazy, not, accepting responsibility and all that. But regardless of whether he fulfills his purpose or not, he's still going to get a glorified body. And for the times that he's faithful as Spider Man, he's going to rule and reign in the kingdom. So that one moment of belief has eternal results, just like that spider. I used to use the illustration. I can't say it because you know how YouTube is about
Right.
something that occurred in 2020 that whenever you
Oh
took this,
yeah.
supposedly it affected you, right? And
Right, right. I hear
so
you.
that's why I use Spider-Man instead for that.
Right.
But so yeah, that's how we believe it. That there's some choices that have irreversible consequences. Like once you're not a virgin, you're not a virgin anymore. Uh, it there's some choices that have irreversible consequences. You know,
Just real quick
uh,
for you.
it's like when
Here,
someone says you said that, you meant that, can't take it back.
just real quick. Here's another verse I got for you. It's Luke chapter 21 and verse 36. It says, "Watch ye always and pray always that ye be counted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass." Nearly paraphrasing. But with that being said, it makes it seem like you have to like keep on guard and be vigilant, not slothful, and just sitting around all day and think that you're good just because you believe. Like, would you agree with me? That's what that
Well,
text clearly seems
the
like.
past that particular passage is not talking about the threat of lake of fire. That's talking about 70 AD, and that's where 1 million Jews were killed. But some of them,
Wait,
the
could I
Christians,
ask you? I don't mean to cut
but
you off, but are you aware of the verse right above it?
I
It
will.
says,
I am if
it
you read
says,
it.
okay, it says, "For it shall come upon, as a snare upon all of them that dwell upon the face of the earth."
Right.
So,
Well, the
well,
word
my
earth.
question, real quick though. So, my question for you was 70 AD a snare that came upon the entire world?
Well, I don't deny that 70 AD foreshadows everything, but if the word is "geis" there for world or earth, then it could be translated as land, and so it could be talking about the land of Israel, Haaretz in the Hebrew.
Would you say the same thing about John 3:16?
It's possible. I don't hold that view right now, but I mean, it's possible.
All right. Well, would you at least agree that that Israel's called the world? Like, say for instance, like you might remember because you watched Tazariak when he went on to what's that guy Tony's channel? Because I watched those
Oh yeah,
episodes, pretty
yeah. Tony
entertaining.
Harvin.
But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I I keep up with that, find them pretty entertaining. But yeah, like
Hmm.
you might remember, he brought up Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 17. It says, "For Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation, a world without end." So you'd agree that Israel can be considered a world. So that's just an example where the word world can
Well,
have definitions.
I think in that particular passage it uses olam, and olam, the equivalent in the Greek is ionios, which can refer to the age or the kingdom. So, like rather than eternal life, some people would prefer, and I kind of lean this way. I like translating it, talking about the quality of life that one will experience in the kingdom, the blessings that one will have in the kingdom.
So you don't, just so you can clarify, so do you not believe that the elect are going to live forever in God's kingdom?
Well, uh, in the by the elect, I don't think the term elect refers to salvation. It refers
Well,
to service.
wait, so the elect are just going to be servants, then who's going to be above them?
Well, I mean, well, I'm just saying that the term elect by itself means elect for service or choiceness. Bakar in the Hebrew, and then uh, electos in the Greek. But the thing is that everybody's going to serve somebody. So Israel's going. So this is how I look at it, and this is how I understand it. Those with glorified bodies are going to trump those with unglorified bodies.
Right.
Those with unglorified bodies, Israel is going to rule over the Gentiles, the Gentile
Right.
nations during that time. And then, of
Uh-huh.
course, Israel is going to be held accountable. But I believe David's actually going to be resurrected and rule. And then Christ is going to rule over David and then the Father over everything else.
Just a side note on that. Yo, when
Uh-huh.
Matthew's in the comment section, you can keep running your mouth, man, but later on today I'll drop a link for you. Come hop up on here later. But anyway, you said your name was Charles, right? You want me to call you Layman
Yeah,
or Charles?
it doesn't matter. Go
All right,
ahead.
I'll call you Layman because I'll remember that easier. But here's a question for you going into this stuff we're now talking about. So would you agree then, like if you read Revelation chapter 3 and verse 9, it says, it was red letter Christ speaking. It says, "I'll make them who say they are Jews and are not, I'll make them come and worship before your feet." So you would agree that in the kingdom, the God's elect are going to get worship from other humans then? Would you agree?
I'd have to look and see what the word is. Sometimes the word proskuneo can refer to obeisance. So I mean, I don't believe humans get worshipped typically.
Well,
You know,
on your end, could you pull up that verse because it's Christ speaking there, and
yeah,
he's saying this to the people that are reading it, right? Or
yeah,
at least to those that it was written to, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm just interested to see how you break that down because when I read it, it's clearly him talking about that he's going to make them come and worship before their feet. And I'll give you a bonus example, like just to prove that Christ is not
What's the
saying this
verse
about,
number again?
it's Revelation chapter 3 and verse 9. And while you're looking that up, we'll even give a bonus, like to show that Christ is not saying this about himself only, but about other people. Here's a bonus. If you read Revelation chapter 2, verse 25 to 27, red letter, Christ said, "To him that overcomes, I'm going to give him power to reign over the nations, and he'll rule over them with a rod of iron." So that wasn't Christ saying he only is going to do it. He said he's going to give this power to those who overcome. So those are
Yeah,
two examples.
my only objection was the term worship that you use. I was right. It's proskuneo, and so that could be translated as bow down. So it doesn't have to necessarily be worship in the
But
sense. I believe that only.
isn't bowing down a form of worship though?
Well, the angels tell John, don't whenever he bowed down to an angel, don't worship me, for I'm a servant of God or whatever.
Well, what
So,
about I mean, well, that's a different example because John was going to bow down to him because he was showing him all these things, but
well,
the
I
angel
mean,
said, "Don't do it to him," because God was the one at the end giving these visions. But here's just a side note for you: like, I don't know if you watch any of these like history documentaries from like say the 1500s, 1600s, or whatever. And you see when people come before kings, like say the king of Britain or whatever, they'll
yeah,
always bow before them. So is that not like a form of worship to bow before somebody?
it's just recognition. I mean, whenever West Side Circle had that song "Bow Down," when I come to your town, bow down to a city greater than you. You know, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's just you better recognize, that type of thing. Uh, so. Uh,
But I thought by your worldview, Christ is the only one that's supposed to get people to bow before him.
No, first off, remember what we were saying earlier about the word all. Words
Right.
don't, context determines how a word's being used. So the word can be used in one type of way, but context is clearly indicating that. Now, I know you got different views about Jesus than I, but regardless of that, my point here, you do know that I do believe that the Gentiles will serve Israel in the kingdom, at least the ones in unglorified bodies. You
Yeah,
do
I
know I.
believe
All right.
you.
Okay.
I believe you referenced to that
Right.
earlier.
Right.
But
Yeah.
on that though, before we move on though, I find it interesting because some of your buddies that I see you on stream with, like this guy Praise or maybe Jack Smack 77. As far as I know, they don't hold that view. So would you say those guys in the free grace community
Well,
leaders? Would you say they're incorrect on that?
well, I would. I, I don't call myself a leader in the free grace community, and I don't consider them a leader in the free grace community. The people that attend my seminary, the professors and the pastors and people that I know in Grace Evangelical Society and Free Grace Alliance and stuff like that, the ones that live the life consistently, that are out, going across the world doing missions and discipleship and all that, those are the ones I consider the leaders.
Oh,
You know,
and by the way, Layman, you're certainly welcome to re-upload this on your channel, but I do ask you to just pin my channel down below if you do decide to upload it. But you certainly are welcome to do so if you choose to. But anyway, you can continue.
yeah. So the issue is praise is not a dispensationalist. I'm a dispensationalist. I don't even think Jack Smack's a dispensationalist. And a dispensationalist believes that God has a future for Israel. That's why I think I can relate to the Hebrew Israelites in a way differently than other people. Even vocab is a progressive dispensationalist. So uh, I think he lacks clarity in certain areas, and I think they get hung up on certain things. Now, keep in mind, I'm new to dialoguing with Black Hebrew Israelites, but
Yo, did you ever see? I had a conversation like twice with vocab. Like, I want to say
oh,
maybe 2 years ago. I talked to that dude twice. Uh, but yeah, you can continue.
yeah, I've never talked to him personally. I know Faithful. I've known Faithful for years from Google Plus time, but I was in a
Oh yeah,
clubhouse.
yeah. I know. You're one of those OG guys. I remember that, man. A lot of people on YouTube don't remember those Google Plus. I
Yeah, the
remember that,
Hangouts and
man.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Those were the days, man.
yeah. So uh, I was in Clubhouse a day ago, and Vocab was there, but he was fixing to leave, and I got called up to the stage because it's Faithful's room, but I didn't get a chance to talk because I was at work and I got busy. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, because I'm a dispensationalist, I believe that God has given covenants to Israel. And I don't believe that the covenants, the kingdom, all that's about salvation from the lake of fire. See, most Christians, when they see those passages, their mind automatically allegorizes the text, and all they think about is salvation from hell, and oh, we got to evangelize and all of that. Whereas whenever I see them, as I've written in papers, I don't see them as soteriological. I see them as sociological. It's about group regulation and stuff. And so God decides who gets what, you know, and God decides who the chain of command is. And God has favored Israel. Now, I'll tell you right now, I don't accept the 12 tribes chart type thing, but
Right.
I do believe that Israel was scattered throughout the earth. Okay. Uh, and so, and regardless of whether the people that I encounter are Israelites or not, my undergraduate's in sociology, and one of the things is called the Thomas theorem, which says perception is reality. So even if y'all are not Israelites because you perceive yourself to be as Israelites, that means that whenever we interact, y'all really believe that, and it's going to affect things. And so
Right, I
I,
understand. Just a
yeah,
side note on this, though, regardless of who the real Israel is today, we won't get into that
uh
tonight. But
right.
just a side note on it, right? Regardless of who it is, would you at least agree that according to the Bible, God said that He favors them above all other nations? Like, I'll give you an example. Like, if you read Deuteronomy 28, verse 1, says, "If you
Yeah,
hearken to all these, God will put you above all the other nations." I'll give another one.
yes.
If you read Deuteronomy, was that 7:14, I believe it is, or 14:7, it's another one where it says that He put Israel above all other nations. So you would at least agree on that?
Yes, that will happen in the kingdom when Christ comes back, in my view.
Real quick
Yes.
on that though. So that's not like today or in the Old Testament times.
No, it's not. Well, at that time, that's Deuteronomy, and it's talking about when the theocracy of Israel. In my view, I believe that the kingdom has been postponed, and Israel has been temporarily set aside until the time of the Gentiles is complete, and also the fullness of the Gentiles, and then God is going back to dealing with the nation of Israel. So, in my view, during the tribulation, the two witnesses, the 144,000, all of those, they are in operation. There's charismatic supernatural things going on during that time. And then when Christ comes back, Christ can't come back until Israel accepts him based on Deuteronomy 30. They have to return to him before he can return. The Hebrew word is shuv. And so Israel
So
will
even from
only
your view, not to
go
cut
ahead.
you off, but even
Yeah.
even from your view, so you'd agree, and I got to watch the word I use over here because YouTube's sensitive, but you'd agree then that the people in Israel, the 1948ers, they're not the true Israelites then by what you're saying?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, all I know is that in the tribulation, 144,000, 12,000 from each tribe are going to be used as servants of God. But because of Genesis 12:3, what we call the anti-Semitism clause, I will bless those who bless you and curse you who curse you, I try to be very careful and be respectful to anybody making a claim to be an Israelite. I mean, at least over there. Over here, honestly, when I first met you, I'm like, man, you're just a white dude, but I've grown a little bit more in that, maybe you just real bright. I don't know your ethnicity and all that,
Well,
but
just so you know, though, because I think you might be a little unlearned on it, but even if you look at the 12 tribes chart, which I know you don't accept, but again, even if
mhm,
you don't accept it, you should know why they hold to it, right? Like
right,
they
right,
even consider Mexicans to be part of that, so they would consider
right,
me
right.
to be under that chart.
Oh,
You know,
you're
because a
you're
lot of people
you're
go ahead.
Mexican. You're
Yeah,
Mexican. Okay,
right. But you can continue.
okay. No, but yeah, that's the main issue. Is that because I'm a dispensationalist, I I think I understand some of the things that y'all say a little bit better than other people. However, what I like about interacting with Black Hebrew Israelites is they constantly are putting you to the Bible. They only want explicit references, and it's like, man, I got to tighten up on my uh, Bible memorization and recitation.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Hey, look, I've been teaching the Bible on YouTube since I was 14 years old. I read the
Mm,
entire Bible when I was 16, then I went back when I was 18 and did it. So everything I have learned it for my own study, and of course, listening to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, which much respect is due. But yeah, man, it's definitely not something that happens overnight from both sides of the table. Like hell, man, like I came out of Christianity. I went to the church growing up, whether we're talking about the Catholic Church, the Seventh Day Adventist Church, and so on.
Mhm.
I've been through that, so I'm familiar with a lot of the, dogma or beliefs that these groups have. And I used to hold to a lot of these beliefs, but then when I studied the Bible for myself, I found out that they had clearly a misunderstanding about the character of God and the character of Christ and all of that stuff.
Yeah. Um, so let let me ask you about your eschatology a little bit. Your view of
Sure.
the end times. Uh,
Yeah.
let's start simple. Do you believe that America's Babylon?
Yeah, we teach that America's Mystery Babylon in Revelation 18.
Do you believe that the Lake of Fire is America burning?
Yes.
Okay. So here's the thing. A lot of Christians, whenever y'all are talking about salvation, y'all are the way that y'all describe salvation, I understand it. It's more like social gospel stuff. It's very practical. It's very earthly. It's almost like the Old Testament. I understand that, but that's why I'm like, why are all these people going after y'all for saying, oh, only us can be saved? Why don't y'all just ask them their definition of salvation? And I don't think people are going to disagree with y'all about that. Then they may disagree about the law and stuff. Uh, if they're dispensationalists like me, they shouldn't disagree, because if you are Israel, then these prophecies are going to be fulfilled. And
Just real quick,
I
Lay man, just
but
just so I'm called up with your view on it. So since we're both at different sides of the spectrum, I would imagine. So just from your perspective, who would you say that great city is, and what's that lake of fire from your
well,
perspective?
I've over the years I've had the view that it was America, because I used to listen to Dr. Jack Van Impe. He's like memorized 14,000 verses. As a kid, I used to listen to him, and he taught America was Babylon. And I
Right.
and then I went to a view of the whole world being Babylon, and then after 9/11, I considered, New York, the two towers.
Right.
That was my response. I mean, I took people to the Bible whenever that happened, because that was what I thought. Babylon is fallen. Two towers, and I was, looking into all of that stuff, and uh, I read Grant Jeffrey's book that whenever this was for the Second Gulf War during that time, about Babylon, Iraq going to be restored. And I was like, maybe this is just, they're just trying to put things together. Well, the current president of my seminary, uh, he holds the view that Babylon is going to be rebuilt in Iraq. And I read his book, Middle East Rising, I think it is. Middle East Meltdown. I think that's the word he has in it. And it was pretty convincing. And I would recommend you read it, man, because his series, Andy Woods, it's on YouTube, because he talked about all this stuff before it popped off. Uh, the Russia, Iran,
But just a
Syria.
question on you with that though. Like with that view, then you'd agree that like Isaiah 13, that hasn't happened with the fall of ancient Babylon and Iraq, because nearly paraphrasing it says that nobody would dwell there from generation to
Right,
generation.
right.
It would just
Yeah,
be
I
a
don't
heat.
think it's
So you
happened
don't
yet.
believe that happened?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
And
No.
just a side note as well, if it's in the same location as ancient Babylon that we read about with like Daniel, well, why would it call it Mystery Babylon if it's in the
Uh,
same location?
there's two things there. There's two things going on there. I understand mystery Babylon. The term mystery a lot of time is always used with the mystery religions. So that's related to the religion, the worship, like the Tower of Babel, and then you have the city, and so they're both together, because that's why the Tower of Babel was scattered. It was a ziggurat most likely, and it was the first one world religion, one world government, and so. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised if it's not rebuilt in the exact location of
Just another
Shinar.
question for you.
All
I have
right,
a
go
verse
ahead.
I want to bring up, but I want to see your faults real quick. So you'd
Uh-huh.
say that Mystery Babylon is that great city, right? Like it calls Babylon that great city. They're the same thing.
I think yes. I think during that time, what's going to happen is it's just kind of like how the Left Behind novels showed it. Is that Babylon's going to be rebuilt, and the main place of worship is going to be built there. We kind of see that with like uh, Abu Dhabi or whatever. I can't say the name of it, where they got the Abrahamic house, the
Yeah.
Judaism, Islam,
Right.
Christianity. You got those similar things going on in Saudi Arabia, but I think it's eventually going to get all into Iraq.
Well, just real quick, since you agreed that that great city's Babylon, I just want to see your thoughts on this. So, like, how would you respond to somebody? And this is not my belief, but this is what I've heard some people say. If you read the book of Jonah, chapter 1, verse 2, it
The
says,
Nineveh.
"Arise,
Yeah.
go unto Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it." So, my question for you is, how would it be unreasonable for somebody to say that? Nineveh's mystery Babylon if it calls both of them the great city.
Well, number one is you can have more than one great city. I mean, they didn't last at the same time. Also, Nineveh is a city within the Syrian Empire, and the Syrian Empire ruled the territory that Babylon took over. So it could be one and the same in that sense. But Nineveh is in a different location, and it's not in Iraq. So that's one thing to take in consideration. But I would just argue, just like what we mentioned about all and bow down, is that the word great can be used differently. I mean, you can have more than one goat, greatest of all time. And
Right.
the reason it was called a great city is because of how long it took for you to walk from one end to the other. I think I've heard that it's maybe days or whatever. And then you have the Babylon with the Nebuchadnezzar built with the hanging gardens and all of that stuff. So uh, the
But wait,
the work.
but real quick on that,
But
but with that, what city did you say took days to walk from like the end to end of it? What one was it? I didn't hear you.
I think it was Nineveh. I think it was
Okay.
Nineveh. I
Well,
can't
like
remember.
what is that though compared to America? It's like what 5,000 square miles. It would like
Oh
literally
yeah.
as far as I know, there's never been one person on record who has ever walked from one end of America to the other end. It hasn't
Well,
happened because it's so large.
well, let me say this. Let me say this. If America
Yeah.
was Babylon, then I think the argument that New York, because Babylon, New York, that's where the United Nations is, all that type of stuff. I mean, that's the view I used to hold to. Like I said, I don't hold to that
Yeah,
view
but
now.
the ruler of the city is not there though. He's in Washington. I mean, I wouldn't know the exact mileage away, but it's
Yeah,
definitely a distance
right.
from
It's
there. Like,
it's
I'll
in
give
it.
you an example. I'll give you an example. Like, I'm over in Pennsylvania, right? And if
Uh,
I drive to New York, it's literally like what, an hour and 50 minutes, including traffic. So
yeah.
it's a long ride from here to there. And if you were to walk that, we're talking like what, maybe 2 weeks if you were to walk there from here.
Mhm,
I mean, it's a long
yeah.
way, man. So again, the ruler of the country is not even in New York. So again, we'd say it's the entire nation, not just New York, but we could say New York's like the capital of it would be fine, but it's not only that area. That's our view.
Well, maybe America is going to morph. Maybe it's going to change. Recently, I watched a movie. Probably about 6 months ago, I watched the movie Civil War. You ever seen that? It's
Yeah.
where, yeah, California and Florida basically secede because the president's doing wild things, and you never know, man. We could be close to that. But I don't know. I see my issue with America being Babylon. I feel like we're too Amerocentric. You know, we think God cares so much about America. Nah, America is either going to join the Antichrist system or they're going to get wiped out by the Antichrist. In the Left Behind novels, America and Egypt, if I remember right, they got, and this is from some of the prophecies about Egypt, they got wiped out by the Antichrist. So America's days are few. I mean, but see, I'm not worried about the destruction of America. You know, Life goes on. God is still the same.
Real quick, just so I know, are you located in the United States or are you across seas?
No, I'm in the U.S.
All right, cool. So, I mean, like, if this was to happen, like, what are you gonna do? Are you like gonna flee the country, or like, what are you gonna do if you're here
You
when that judgment
you
happens?
can't flee the country just like that. You got to have money. I mean, look at P Diddy and them. They tried fleeing the country. Where'd that get
Well,
them?
I mean, let me tell you something. I know a cat that's a buddy of mine, and he actually went over the border without having a pass or nothing. I mean, it's not easy to do, but it's
Uh-huh.
definitely a hard thing to do. But hell, you could go through the process of getting a damn passport. It's going to cost you maybe a few grand at most, which most people could save up for that, and you can get somewhere. Like I have a buddy I know that saved up to go over to Mexico, right? So he's dwelling over in Mexico now. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
certainly
but
possible to
if
leave
we
the
go
country.
if we have a nuclear war or something like that, and America
Right.
gets nuked or whatever, there ain't going to be no flights. There ain't going to be no
Go
the
ahead.
borders, the National Guard, and all that stuff. It's going to be martial law and all that type of stuff, and most people will be dying and exposed to radiation and all that stuff.
Yeah, this brings up an
You're gonna be like
interesting point.
you're gonna be like a roach that just is fleeing after somebody fogged the house,
You know,
you know?
but layman, this is a good point I want to bring up because I never heard any of the free grace guys talk about this subject, at least from what I've seen. Is what
Mhm.
about the topic of the rapture? Like, do you guys believe that happens in the middle of the trib, before it, or after? What's your view on that?
Well, SFT and praise, they are post trib pre wrath. I'm pre trib because I believe that the church is distinct from Israel, and the only consistent view that holds the church distinct from Israel is dispensationalism. And so the church has to be removed for the time clock for it to
So,
start with Israel again.
so just to clarify again for the audience, so your view on it, you believe that the rapture happens before the tribulation?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Well, what's your thoughts on the Matthew chapter 24, verse 29 on down? It says, immediately after, keyword after, the
Yeah.
tribulation of those days is the Son of Man return and then send his angels to gather together his elect scattered abroad, nearly
Yeah,
paraphrasing.
I'm currently reading a paper on that somebody's writing on post trib pre wrath and all that. But my particular view is that the rapture is not mentioned in Matthew 24. The elect is not the church. I'm a dispensationalist, and according to Ephesians 3 and Colossians 1, the church didn't come into existence until Acts 2 because it was a mystery, and it was never revealed to the apostles and prophets until that time. So, in my view, I don't believe the rapture is there. And
But even with
also,
this notion, though, but even with that notion, whether it's talking about the church or Israel, isn't it still talking about like just all the believers in general that are going to get raptured together?
well, what that could be talking about is the elect. Could be referring to the gathering of Israel.
But real quick though, let me quote a verse for you. Like in the same chapter, if you go to verse 21 and 22, it says, "For the elect's sake, he's going to shorten those days." Right, the days are going to be so bad that no flesh will be saved. But for the elect's sake, he's going to shorten those days. So we see that God's elect, they're going to be on the earth during the time of the tribulation. That's why he's shortening the
Right.
days of the
But
tribulation for their sake.
yeah, like I said, the word elect just means his servants. God has angels that are servants. The church are
Demons that
servants.
are servants.
Israel are servants. Huh?
You agree there's demons as servants of God?
They're still held accountable. They have to report to God. At least Satan does.
All
And we
right.
see that you see places in the Old Testament where it says, "I will send a lion spirit into
Yep.
him,"
First Kings
or
22:18. Yep.
and Satan caused them to number the Israel with
Right.
David, the census, and things like that. So yeah, God's in control of everything, but he
That we could
delegates.
we could agree on that. We could agree on that.
Yeah.
So you would also agree that God, which I don't want to go too far off topic, but you would also agree that God created evil then?
Well, the word for evil Ra'ah, I think that's it in that particular passage can be translated as calamity. I believe that God
Well,
in his nature or essence is pure goodness, and therefore nothing can come. God can't give what he don't have, and God can't do what he is not. So I don't believe he created them evil in that sense, but this is how I view it. I believe that God created Lucifer, and Lucifer with his own free choice created Satan.
again, I'm familiar with that belief, but I, it's funny you bring this up because I literally had multiple discussions this week about the same topic, and nobody can prove it. Like, I'll ask you the same thing I asked the dudes earlier this week that say the exact same thing. I ask them, like, could anybody go to book, chapter, verse, and show me where like Satan had a rebellion and he got cast out of heaven in the beginning? I ask everybody, and nobody can really give me anything on that. Do you have
What?
maybe a
Yeah.
verse or two
Well,
on that?
well. I mean, I can mention the verses that are typically mentioned. What
Let me take a
typically?
guess. You're gonna talk about Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel
No,
28.
no. I believe that's in the future. I believe that's in the future. I
We
think
we
it's
we
actually
could we
past,
could agree
present,
on
and
that in
future.
a way.
I think it's past, present, and future. In other words, Satan is the ultimate one behind it, but there was a king at that time. Because see, humans die, but the demons behind them don't die. So they just jump around to another person. And so Satan is always trying to take over the world, but he don't know when the time is. That's why in Revelation it says, "Woe to the habits of the earth, for Satan comes down with great wrath, knowing he has a short time." And the only reason he knows he has a short time is because that's when the third of the angels try to overtake heaven and they get cast down. But whenever Michael's at battle with them.
Okay, but real quick though, like you don't have anywhere in the Old Testament to show it that this happened because even with your notion, you believe Revelation's in the future. So why would we go to Revelation to prove something that happened in like Genesis time?
No, no, that's a good question. Progressive revelation can shed more light on certain things, but I think that whenever we when we look at Isaiah, it does seem to be some spirit being beyond the man, because then it says all the people of the earth will look on this and say, "Is this the
But what
man?"
about verse 4? Are you
Uh,
familiar with the I'll quote it for you. It says, "Take up
yeah,
this proverb against the king of Babylon and say,"
uh-huh.
and then it continues the rest of the thing that we're reading. But if you read verse 4, the entire chapter is a proverb against the king of Babylon. So
Right,
we
right,
break
yes.
it down to say that the Lucifer there, this is all referring to the king of Babylon in like a poetic stance.
Yeah, and I don't deny that, but I do believe that there's certain things that are mentioned in there that seem to indicate that there's a spiritual being behind it. You also
You
got the
got one
Ezekiel
example of
passage.
that?
Uh, well, I mean, who was in Eden? I mean, is that just poetic? Is that how y'all take that totally?
Wait,
Like
wait,
in
hold on,
Ezekiel
because now,
28?
hold on, real quick. You didn't hear what I said. You were talking about Isaiah 14. That there was some in there that you think could be like talking about not just the king. So I asked, like, do you have like one example in Isaiah 14 that you could
Right
break
now,
down?
I haven't touched it, but I can send you some stuff later on.
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
mean that's
touched
fine.
on it right now.
In fact, for
Um,
those listening, I'd have my own personal Gmail on the screen. You can contact me or be there to set up a conversation or to send, to contact me in general. You can check that out there. But yeah, man, in the future, you can definitely send that over to me. But one more point I want to show on the Revelation thing, like 'cause you were going to like the 12th chapter for son. But I want to point out for the audience, if you read Revelation chapter 1 and verse 1, it says these are the things that God has shown John that are going to soon come to pass. So these
right.
were things that were going to happen in the future. So nobody, and I'm not just accusing this brother of that, but I've seen countless people go to Revelation 12 for like the ancient war in heaven in the beginning. But the problem is we can't do that because even in the first chapter, starting at verse 1 on down, he said these are all things that are going to happen in the future. So it
Well,
couldn't be
yes.
back in like the beginning.
Well, yeah, I agree. So, in my view, I believe that Satan has been cast down, and with the third of the angels, but they're going to try to take over things in Revelation 12, and then they're going to be cast down again. So that's the whole issue there.
But could
The
I ask
issue
you
is
on that though? If you
right,
agreed earlier that God has power over like Satan, like if we read Job chapter 2, we see Satan go up to heaven and have a friendly dialogue with God, and then God
right,
told him he can go tempt Job, but he has to spare his life. So we see Satan under complete order, even the demons. Like I'll give an
right,
example for the audience, like in Matthew 5, or I mean Mark 5, right? That man possessed with the legion. The demons, they feared Christ and told him, "Give us the permission. We'll do as thou say, thou son of God." And then a bonus example, even in James chapter 2, it says, "Even the demons fear and believe."
right.
So even the demons are in subject to Christ and his Father.
Right. And so but in the tribulation, that's when God allows Satan, the Antichrist, and the false prophet, the unholy trinity, if you will. I know y'all think the Trinity is unholy anyway, but yeah, that to rule in a way that they've never ruled before. Because one argument is that all the way that God's done things throughout time, like what in the Garden of Eden, God put mankind in a perfect environment, they messed that up. Then God gave them conscience, they failed at that. Then they gave them human government after Noah, mankind failed with that. Even the Abrahamic promise, Abraham still fails, even though God is going to be faithful to that promise. And even Israel failed. And so God had, and even the church fails. God has God is showing humanity, and I think Satan as well, that any other way except for his is going to fail. That's why in the kingdom he's going to rule himself, because mankind fails, Satan fails.
All right, I understand. I understand your stance on it. Um, I guess we could like. Do you have time? Like, how much time you got left on your hands?
I got time.
All right. One thing we could kick it over to is like, well, before I mention that, do you have any subject matter of mine since you're the guest?
No, no. I I guess yeah. I have some questions that will help me whenever I interact with other Hebrew
Okay.
Israelites. I've interacted with Rick Judah in the past, and in the interaction with him, I learned in his view he believed that the kingdom started with the transatlantic slave trade. Or no, I'm
No,
sorry.
I'd
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Let me clarify. That Satan was bound until the transatlantic slave trade,
I mean,
and
I've never heard that from any other group, so I can't speak for that guy. So he might just
okay.
be a one-off.
All right, because see, that's the thing I was wondering. It's like, because in my view, regardless of whether you believe the rapture occurs, in my view, there's a 7 year tribulation, and then there's the 1,000 year kingdom, and then the eternal state. Uh, and so from what I understand, Hebrew Israelites are premillennial. But after talking to this guy, they were making references to the transatlantic slave trade being fulfillments of prophecies about the end times. It's like,
Well,
no,
I'll
I
tell you
I
this.
understand about Deuteronomy, but
Right. Yeah, like here's a whole nother one you might not be familiar with. Like over the past couple of years, like in 2018, 2019, there was a whole new topic that these guys would go on the internet. Like not that guy in particular, but some Hebrew
uh-huh.
Israelites, they would say, what is that? I believe it's Genesis 15:13,
Oh,
about like 400 years. But the fact
right,
is, 'cause what they were trying to say is they'll say, well, we came over in 1619, so the 400 years is up in 2019. But that's false because when you read it, and even if you read the verse under it, tells you, then they shall come out with great possessions out of the land. So
yeah,
Genesis 15:13 is talking about the
Egypt,
Exodus story. Yeah, the Exodus
yeah,
story. It
yeah,
has nothing to do with modern day America. So that's an example how some camps
right.
believe that. and that's clearly not what it's talking about. So I could agree with you that there's some camps that have some misconceptions about the Bible, just as you would agree some Christian denominations would have misunderstandings about the Bible.
And see, that's a common area that I believe Black Hebrew Israelites and Free Grace have is people accuse us of having a relatively new movement or theology where other systems have everything all figured out. You can read a Calvinistic book and they're going to say the same thing every time. They're going to use the same sorry arguments and the same thing for the other sides. But Free Grace, we're willing to re-examine everything. And it seems like y'all are too, because as a dispensationalist, we debate, okay, is the new covenant in place now? Does the church
Well,
benefit
Layman,
from
let
it?
me ask you on that though. I don't mean to talk over you, but
Right.
something you said triggered this in me. So, what do you think about this guy Jack Smack, which I imagine you guys are get along, right? So, why is
No,
it that when you don't get along with him?
no, no. I mean, I got videos against him because he went around. You know who Young Don is, right?
Yeah, I've heard the name.
Okay, YouTuber. He became Free Grace. All these
Right.
Christians started coming attacking him because he was Free Grace, and then he stopped being Free Grace and became other things. And then all
Yeah.
the certain Free Gracers started going after him. Well, Jack Smack basically is inconsistent, and he has said that if you no longer believe in free grace, it shows you never really believed. I'm like, you borrow from Calvinism there. And so that's why, and so what he did was he said Charles Ryrie was not free grace. And Charles Ryrie was one of the early pioneers of the more recent modern movement of free grace. And so whenever he did that, I'm like, you're not free grace, you know?
Wait,
And then
so Charles,
that
when
popped off a bunch of stuff on YouTube.
right, but
Go
Charles,
ahead.
when you called him out on this, did he sit there and do like 10 videos on you, like how he would do to
He
me?
did a couple. He did a couple, yeah. And then he got then some other YouTubers, Fuego Savvy, and a couple others. They came at me, you know. Uh,
Yeah, I hear you.
it's,
I hear you, man. You know, it's
but
funny to
hey,
me
I
because
don't.
I
I'm not
watched.
afraid of the smoke, you know. Uh,
Yeah, I
it,
hear you, man. I hear you. Hey, I gotta give you credit, man, because at least you came up to talk. But a lot of these other freak racers, such as this guy Jack Smack 77, I call him Jackass, but he don't come up. Like I literally will say, hey, look, man, why don't we just come up? We can even go on a neutral platform and have a conversation. Like, why won't you do it? You'll sit there and talk smack, but you won't come up and talk. You know, it's very pathetic, and it gives
well,
what's the word I'm looking for? Go ahead.
Jack Jack is a lot better in his videos than he is in person. I'll put it that way
In
because you
person?
know
Wait, you know that cat?
No, no, I mean from on, whenever he's in a stream or something, he stumbles
I
over
mean,
his
to be
words.
fair, yeah, I was gonna say when you see this guy in the stream, he's not to be offensive, but he's pretty slow in my opinion when you see him on
Well,
stream.
I'm not saying that. It's just that, I mean, he has a
Not
different
the
way of
brightest bulb
doing
in the
things.
box, right?
No, I'm not going to say that, but it just
Okay.
that, I mean, he has a different way of conveying things, and I don't
Right.
think debate is the right one for him.
Yeah, I hear. You know, it's funny, man, because I saw they did a video on his page about like the top 10 enemies of free grace, and I watched that, and guess who was at the
Did you
number?
make the list?
Yeah, guess what? Guess where I landed on the
Huh.
list?
What?
I landed at number 1 as far as, like, being the most severe enemy, like, you know how they count down from, like, 10 down to 1?
Oh, come
But I
on.
got the last spot as, like, the most hard hitter against the free grace. That's where they put me.
Eh, that just what that means? That just means how small of a pool Jack Smack's fishing out of. Because
Right.
if he thinks you're a shark and your channel's small and you don't have a lot of influence, at least on YouTube and everything, are you gonna say you're the public enemy number one? Come on, man.
Yeah, like, seriously, like, even you from inside the free grace, even you will admit that that doesn't even make sense. Like, how the
No,
hell
no, let me
could
tell
I
you what
do that?
happens. These guys always need somebody to go after. These
Right.
Harry C. Hunters, and so they pick people. you know, and sometimes they put horns on them. I'm speaking in general because they did it with young Don, they did it with Gideon, heck, they did it with me at one time. So it's just a reality. And for the record, preacher is not free grace. Preacher is what's called extreme form of hyper grace. He denies that we sin or all of those things like that. He won't formally debate,
Yeah, it's
and he
funny that
won't.
you bring him up because I
Oh,
actually
I
have his
see him.
comment
He's in
here
the
because I was
chat.
going to ask
Yeah,
you about him. Yeah, I was
yeah,
gonna
he's in
ask
the
you, like,
chat.
what's your thoughts on, like, say for instance, right? Like, we can put your personal opinion on the guy aside. Like, how would Free Grace view him? Because he believes on Jesus. He makes a
Oh yeah,
YouTube channel.
yeah.
Wait, just let
He's
me finish
saved.
real quick.
Go ahead.
He makes a channel. He literally goes out on the street and preaches. He sells Bible merchandise, gives away Bibles. So how would you guys say that he doesn't truly believe? And then if you guys admit he does truly believe, then how would you guys say that he wouldn't be saved then if he's a true believer?
I don't say that. If he believed the gospel, he's saved. I
But
don't doubt his
but
salvation. I just believe that he's not free grace. Just not saved and not free grace are two different things. You can be
right,
saved and not be free grace.
but Charles, like again, if you listen to what I said, I gave like a hypothetical. I was saying like let's say at like for an example, if he going out and doing all these things and claims to believe, wouldn't you guys consider him saved because he's doing all these great things to show
No,
he actually believes what he's saying?
no. Consistent free grace says you don't have to do a single thing to prove your salvation. So if they're trying to say, "Oh, he's doing these things, therefore we accept him as saved," they're being inconsistent with their own position because we don't look for fruit to
Don't look
determine
for fruit.
salvation.
Well, let me ask you on that though, because if you don't look for fruit, why did Christ say that you would know them by their fruit? So doesn't it
Well,
seem like
in that,
wait, just real quick, let me finish. Like,
uh
wouldn't that mean that Christ and God are looking at fruits? Like even Christ said you know them by their fruits. Like even it says, I believe that's Proverbs 20 and 12, if I'm not mistaken, it says even a child is known by his doings. And
yeah,
fruits is just another word for saying one's actions and their
yeah,
workings.
but none of those passages are saying fruit in the sense that let me find out if you're saved or not, and let me judge whether you're going to heaven or hell. None of those passages are about that.
Well, I didn't say that it was. I'm just saying it
No,
says
I
you
know,
would
but they
know them
think
by
it
their
is.
fruit.
They think it is. That's the issue. Those people that go around looking for fruit that are inconsistent, they think it is, but none of them are.
Well, let me ask you an example, because even Christ gave a parable about, a righteous, a good tree can't bring forth corrupt fruit and vice versa, right? So,
Mhm.
like, what would you guys say that means? Because when we read it, we say
Are you talking
obviously
about
it's talk.
Matthew 7?
I believe it's that chapter, but you're familiar with what I'm talking about. Like, let me give
Yeah.
the little understanding before you chime in. Of course, our view on it we'd say that Christ was talking about the person, and then the fruits would represent their actions. A righteous person's not going to live unrighteously, and you're not going to have a wicked person that can live righteously. So we'd say he was clearly talking about the people there, but I'm just intrigued to see where you guys would interpret that as.
Well, I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for them because they're not dispensationalists like me.
All right.
I go to Deuteronomy 13. In Deuteronomy 13, it says if a prophet arises saying, "Let us go after other gods," and a prophecy that he says come to pass, he said, "Do not listen to him, for God has sent him to test Israel." So the thing is in the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 7, the whole issue is it's the Pharisees' oral tradition of the law versus Jesus's tradition interpretation of the law at that time. And what he's saying is that he's talking about false prophets there. And what the fruit is their teaching. There's other parallel passages that establish that the fruit refers to their teaching, because the most dangerous teacher is one that looks good on the outside, that's moral, does all those nice things. That's why the Bible says Satan transforms himself into an angel of light.
Okay, but like say for instance, right? Like how would you know if somebody is righteous or not? Like
Oh,
just
I
by
don't
looking
know.
at them.
Oh, I don't know. That
Okay.
isn't my job. I I just I leave it, but it's between them and
Let me give
God.
you an
I just tell
example.
them the promise of Scripture. If they believe, they're eternally secure.
Let me give you an example, layman. Like I was downtown the other day, and as I was walking around, there's churches down there from like the 1700s, and and by the way, there's flying pride flags outside, but I guess that's a different topic. And I was walking there, and I saw this dude literally taking a damn pee on the church. I was like, oh wait, what? What the hell? This guy's literally in the back taking a damn pee on the church building. So
And
my
when you gotta go, you gotta go.
but wait, literally on the church. So my question for you is: would you guys say, going off his action there, would you say that he's righteous or unrighteous off of what he's doing?
And he was probably drunk and needed to take a piss.
But it wasn't though. This is like 12 in the afternoon.
Oh, well, he should be arrested for public exposure then.
I mean, but again though, but address the
It
point though.
doesn't
It's
mean
like,
he's not saved. It means he's stupid. If he believed the gospel at one point in
but
time, he's just stupid.
I'm saying it. The action he did, is that what a righteous guy would do, or an unrighteous guy would do?
Depends what you mean by righteous. Are you talking about in your walk, or are you talking about when you get saved?
When he gets saved, well, that'd be a point of contention because our view, we don't believe we're saved until the end. Like, I'll give an example. Like, if you read Matthew chapter 24, verse 13, it says, "He who endures until the end is the same that shall be saved." So we don't believe that we're saved like right this moment. We believe that our salvation comes at the end with that rapture event. Once we're called up in those clouds,
Mhm.
that's when we're saved. We wouldn't call
Okay.
ourselves saved right now.
Yeah, I view that passage to talk about during the tribulation that Israel's going to be delivered from the Antichrist because they're going to be in Revelation 12. They're going to be gone into the wilderness for 1,000. I can't remember how many days it is, and they're going to be protected and provided for God. And then that's when they're going to call on the name of the Lord, and He's going to come back and destroy the Antichrist and all unbelievers. Um, so that's how I understand that passage. They have to say Hosanna before he returns.
We have something from the comments that somebody put here. I'm just interested to see your thoughts on this. Jay put up, Jack Smack's own audience destroyed him when he tried to debunk the flat Earth. Even his audience switched up. What's your thoughts on that comment?
Well, I think you're flat Earth.
Yeah,
I
I'd
don't
I'd
have a
hold to I'd hold to it, but I don't think it's like a salvation based issue. Like say for
yeah
instance, like we wouldn't say that if somebody held to a globe, that wouldn't cost them their salvation.
yeah. But when you say salvation, what do you mean? I know we talked about it a
Well,
while ago, but I just want to
Well,
know
in that stance, I
from
would say like their salvation as far as like when Christ comes back, because again, we believe that salvation or being saved, that they're one and the same. Now, I understand that there are some instances in the Bible, like when you go into the Old Testament, somebody might have got spared when the Israelites sacked a city or something like that. So I
uh
can understand that, in one or two examples, it could mean something else. But most of the time, when we see salvation or being saved, it's talking about like in the end times. So that's what I
but
mean when I use the word.
y'all don't believe that people go burn eternally in a lake of fire, right?
No.
Right. Okay. So if a person doesn't believe in a lake of fire, do y'all believe in annihilationism? That
Oh,
you'll cease to
just
exist? That
just to
God
clarify, so you're asking me like what we believe happens when a person leaves the world, like with their soul, what happens?
Yes, yes.
Okay, well, we can get into that because that's an interesting subject. We hold to the belief that once the soul departs from the body, right, the body decays back to the earth, but then the spirit goes back to God, and then they're in a state of rest. There's no torment, there's no walking with Jesus on those pearly roads in heaven. We believe the person's just at rest. But then we believe in the future, it's possible for God to send their soul back on earth in a
Right.
new
You believe
body.
in
And
reincarnation.
reincarnation, yes. So
Yeah.
again, this is an interesting topic because a lot of good points can be brought up. But before we go forward, could you clarify for the audience what's your view? What do you guys believe happens to a righteous or unrighteous person when they die?
Well, for those that believe the gospel, I believe they go immediately to be with the Lord. If you want to call that the New Jerusalem, wherever the abode of God is. And and their body will be resurrected. They'll meet up with their body when the rapture occurs, because that's when the dead in Christ and those who are alive are caught up with them. And then when everyone has glorified bodies, then after the rapture, you have the judgment seat of Christ. And when we come back with Christ at the second coming, we're decked out in those garments and all that stuff, and we're given our responsibilities to rule and reign in the kingdom if we are servants now.
But just to clarify on that, though, so you guys believe when a person dies that's righteous, they go right up to heaven, and they're like, are they like looking down on us now? Or are they like actually living there right
Oh,
now?
are you asking if I hold the soul sleep?
Well, I didn't yet mention that. I was just asking because you mentioned something along the lines of we believe when someone dies, they go right up with Jesus. Something you said.
Yeah, I believe they they immediately go with the Lord. I don't know if I don't think they're looking down to us. They're too busy enjoying
But I'm saying
what's up
they're not
there.
asleep though. They're alive, walking around or
Yes,
whatever up there,
yes,
right?
yeah, I
Okay.
believe so. Yeah.
But let me ask you this though, like, when you read First Thessalonians 4:13 down to like 17, talks about the dead in Christ shall rise first, right? Those that sleep in the Lord shall rise first. So here's my question for you: if the people that died in the Lord, if they're already with Him in the heavens, why would they need to rise from the graves if they're already up there with Him?
Their bodies need to raise.
But I thought they get a new immortal body, like when Paul talks about
Well,
that in
it
First
is, but
Corinthians
it's
15.
the same body. Just as in my view, Jesus's body is the same body that was on the cross. It's just resurrected and glorified, and our bodies will be conformed to His, according to Philippians 3:21.
Okay, but clarify for me, because Christ was only in the tomb for a few days. But what about
Uh-huh.
people that been in the grave for like say 300 years, that like
Well,
literally their bones would fall apart under a damn feather falling on it, right? So
this
like
is the
how are
thing.
those? Yep.
We're talking about the God that knows every hair on our head. He knows every cell, every molecule. And just as he can bring Israel together in the future, he can bring body parts together in the future. He's the one who, so it's anything for him. He ain't forgot anything. He knows where everything's at. He's in control of everything. So some
Right,
people are fish
I
food,
understand.
and you'll even see at the great white throne judgment, which I think is a separate judgment from the judgment seat of Christ, and that it occurs after the 1,000 years. It talks about the sea and all of that giving up their dead and all that. So that means all those people that were fish food and all of that, they're gonna get resurrected too, at least to the in the sense of being held accountable at the great white throne judgment in their bodies. Uh, so
All right, I understand. So clarify real quick, what happens to the wicked people, the unbelievers, when they die? Are they like burning in hell forever or something?
currently, I hold to an eternal lake of fire, but I don't know if the torment always exists. In other words, there's different degrees of punishments, and maybe that will go away. I'm open to the possibility of hell being different than what most people think. I just need to study that more, you know. Um,
But clarify this for me though. If these people are like burning their alive right now and in torment, like why would it make sense on judgment day to bring them out for a little bit and then throw them back in? Why not just leave them in there forever right now if they're all already
well,
down there?
it's a good question, but we see that God does similar things. Like, for example, He lets the demons or locusts out of the bottomless pit. He lets Satan out after binding him for 1,000 years. So, I mean, Satan could have just locked. I mean, God could have just locked Satan up for good from the very beginning, but He used Satan to test mankind in there. So, I mean, God has His purposes.
All right. So, and we can stay on this topic because it's an interesting one. So you'd say that soul sleep's not in the Bible, right?
Currently, I don't hold the soul sleep.
Okay. One question for you though. Like when you read, I'll give an easy one. Like if you read Acts the 7th chapter, starting at like 60 on down, right when Stephen got stoned by like the multitude of people, said he
Uh-huh.
saw the heavens open, he saw the Son of God standing on the right hand of God, and then as the people were stoning him, it says he fell asleep. So when we
Yeah,
read
it's a
that, we say
euphemism.
he. You
Yeah,
say that again?
it's a euphemism. When we put animals to sleep all the time, and what do we mean? Euthanasia. Um, it's just a euphemism. I mean, you, let me see. I'm trying to think of a song,
Well,
a rap song that uses the lyrics for sleep in that way. Uh, yeah, but yeah, sleep can just refer to physical death. Because when you go to sleep, what happens is you go from one state, at least the appearance of it, it's like you're in another world. Like when I go to sleep and I dream, I'm in a dream world. But when I wake up, I'm in this world. So, uh,
yo, real
what,
quick,
right.
I'm gonna try to read this. If my mic turns off, just let me know, because sometimes if I exit out of the app, it will close. But I'll try to do it quick. Just let me know if it acts up.
Okay.
So John 11:11, it says, "These things said he, and after he said."
Your mic messed up.
All right. So I'll just quote it then. If you read John 11:11 on down, Christ compared their friend Lazarus to being asleep, but then he reiterated himself and said, "No, Lazarus is dead." So he compared Lazarus, when he was dead, to being asleep.
Right.
So that's
So,
just another example to show where the Bible compares death to being asleep.
yes, it does do that. You're right. And he said, after that, he said to them, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I go that I may awaken him out of sleep. And part of the reason, I think the reason that he used the term falling out of sleep, notice it uses the word awaken right there. And so he's going to live again. And so the issue is the Jews had the view was that supposedly the spirit hung around the body 3 days, but on the fourth day it was gone. And but right here they don't know he's dead. And he said, I think, let me check. Um, yeah, he's like he's fallen asleep. And the son said to him, Lord, if he's fallen asleep, he will recover. They're like, he's sick. And now Jesus spoken of his death, but they thought he was speaking of literal sleep. So he said plainly Lazarus is dead. So Jesus is just using the euphemism at that time. It
Well,
basically.
I'll give
Go
you
ahead.
another example. Are you familiar with Job, the third chapter?
Maybe. I mean, I've read
All
it,
right.
but on this
Um,
particular issue,
if possible, can you pull up verse 16 to 20 on your end?
three,
Because
three,
hell, if I
16 and 20.
let's see, chapter 3, verse 16 to 20.
All right, 16 starts, or like a miscarriage which is discarded, I would not be as infants that never saw light. There the wicked cease from raging, and the weary are at rest. Oh yeah, I know what this is talking about. How far do you want me to read?
To verse 20.
The prisoners are at ease together. They do not hear the voice of the taskmaster. The small and the great are there, and the slave is free from his master. Why is light given to him who suffers, and life to the bitter of soul, who long for death, but there is none, and dig for it more than for hidden treasures?
All right.
So yeah, in
So
my
this the whole
view,
chapter. Go ahead.
uh-huh, in my view, that's just referring to the grave. It's saying, look, there may be differences in leaders and rich people and powerful, but you know what? The death is the great equalizer. Everybody's the same. Y'all are
Well,
all
real
laying
quick,
down in the
let me
grave.
clarify. Not to
Uh-huh.
talk over you, but to clarify for the audience, when you read the whole chapter, Job is saying that he wishes he wasn't born, and then he goes into describe the
Right.
spiritual realm where people go when they pass on from this body. Right? He said they're the
Sheol.
prisoners; they hear not the voice of the master. The small and the great are there. This is interesting. They're the wicked. They cease from troubling. They're the weary are at rest. So Job was describing where souls go when they depart from the body, and he describes them being in peace. So an example for, like, say for instance, like if you go to a graveyard, on the tombstone, it doesn't matter if the person is just a regular law-abiding citizen, whether they're a murderer, whether they rob the stores, they'll put RIP, right? Rest in peace on the gravestone.
Right,
Why is
right.
that? Because their soul is in peace. They're at total ease. They're in the same state that me and you are when we sleep at night. We're in
Well,
total peace,
it looks
no
like that.
worries.
It looks like that, but I don't think that's the case. I think this is
But
just
but
language
let me ask you,
of
but let me ask
appearances.
you this though: if you read the whole chapter, maybe in your free time you can go back over it. But why would he describe the place that he wishes he would have gone instead of being born? Because you even read the part where he says that he wishes he was as an infant which never saw the light, meaning
The,
that he
all,
wishes he didn't ever come out of the
yeah,
womb, right? So he
so all
describes
of
where he would
yeah,
have went.
all of this is just a fancy way of him crying about being alive and he hates his life. This is the FML, F my life. This is
Right,
I wish I was dead. He's suicidal and
right.
he's just being poetic about it, saying it different ways, you know. He's saying it. I'd rather be in the underworld than have to deal with this crap,
Wait,
you
so
know.
real quick, by your same line of reasoning, if you're gonna say that, Christ is just being poetic and Job is being poetic, so would you then hold the same line of logic with what is that, Luke the 16th chapter with Lazarus and the rich man? Would you say that's also parabolic then and not literal?
No, I think that's actual. I mean, it could be a parable, but I think it's actual. The issue is that y'all, at least from my conversation with you, you argued very persuasively about Isaiah being poetically not referring to Satan, but and all of that stuff. And then now this passage, you're arguing very literally, you know, and that's fine. I mean, we all do that to some
Well,
extent.
but
But
layman,
I'm just
even
saying, I'm just
even
saying it's
let's
not
be
convincing to me.
right. I hear you, but layman, let's be honest a second. Even from your standpoint, you have to agree sometimes it's literal, sometimes it's not. Like I'll give you a clear example. Like if
Well,
you read
all scripture is literal.
let me finish real quick. Like if you read was that John the 6th chapter when Christ was on that boat and he told the people to eat his flesh and drink his blood, the people their fault he was talking about cannibalism. But then when we read about the Passover, we find out what the parable actually meant. So even by your standpoint, you would have to agree that sometimes texts are literal and sometimes they are not literal, even from your
Well,
standpoint.
in my view, the better way to say it is that there's direct literal passages and there's indirect literal. And the reason I say that because there's the hermeneutic of literal interpretation. The opposite of literal interpretation is allegorical interpretation, and I reject that. But the reason I call it indirect literal, and I've written papers on this, is because when you say a figure of speech, like if I say I'm so hungry I can eat a horse, that's an indirect way of saying I'm hungry, but it's still literal. I'm literally hungry, whether I eat a horse or not. Or if I say I see a car and I'm like, nice wheels, I'm not just talking about the wheels unless I'm pointing to your Dayton's, I'm talking about the
Right.
whole car,
Yeah.
so there's things like that involved. So I'm not denying figures of speech, but it's still all literal interpretation. The most literal form you can probably
Well,
get are
I'll
covenants
give
and
you one.
contracts.
I'll give you one more dealing with the soul sleep, and then maybe we can move on.
Okay.
Like if you read Revelation the 6th chapter, which these are the elect get in their white robes, then he tells them that they have to go rest yet a little more season until their fellow brethren can be slain as they were. So my question for you is, why would he tell them that they have to go and rest for a little more season until these things are fulfilled on the earth?
Probably
Revelation, I believe
because
it's verse 9.
pro-
If you want to look it up.
probably because number one, he's having a conversation with them, so I think they're conscious and all that.
But
But
but but hold on, I gotta stop you there because we even see in the Old Testament God having conversation with the dead, right?
what do you
Matter of
mean?
fact, not only do we see that, we see if you read First Kings chapter oh, what is that? I believe it's First Samuel 28 and verse
Yeah,
19.
yeah,
King Saul went to a witch to summon
yeah,
Samuel,
yeah.
so he
Right.
came up and had a conversation with him.
No,
So that's an
I'm not
example.
denying. I'm not denying that.
Okay.
But my point is, their conscience. That's my point. You can't have a
Well, but
conversation unless you're conscious.
Well, hold on a second. Even from our
Unless
view,
you're talking in your sleep.
well, hey man, hold on a second. Because even from our view, when we believe the soul sleeps, I think it's still possible to contact the dead. That doesn't mean they're alive and well right there now, but they can be resurrected for a short period of time to have a dialogue. And even from your perspective, what about when in the transfiguration? Wouldn't you even hold to the view that that God brought the soul of Elijah and Moses to have to appear there in the sky? Like even from your
Well, just
perspective, when you
because they're
hold
in
to that?
another, I believe they were in another realm, and they were able to appear in this realm, but that doesn't mean they're sleeping. The reason he told them the rest is because that basically means trust God and chill.
But
He
why
that
would
waits on the Lord, hopes
but
on the
layman
Lord.
though, but make sense of this to me. Why would he have to tell them to trust in God and chill if they're already
Because
saved
they
up
were
in heaven with
asking
Christ?
how long. They were asking how long will you before you avenge us. It's a lamentation that they're doing. And
But
so
I'm
he's like,
saying, like,
chill,
didn't
I
they
got
already
this.
make it
I'm
there?
running this. I'm gonna take care of this. What?
Right, but they already made it there though, so it's not like
Yeah, but
an
they're
issue if they're
not
gonna make
worried
it.
about their situation there. They're worried about vindication. Like when are the people that killed us? When are they going to be judged? You know, it's just like when you're reading Habakkuk and he's saying, "Lord, how long?"
Just a side note on this. So when you say that the wicked are in like torment, is that like under the earth or like where's that happening from your view?
I don't know. It could be on
Okay.
the sun.
Be-
I have no idea.
on the sun. I mean, oh, on a side note on the sun, right? Because I don't think you hold to the
I
flat Earth
used to get
model, but
into all this stuff, but
yeah.
I try to focus in where people need most help with, so I just dig into the things that need. But I mean, I don't mind having the conversations, but it's not like I'm having to formally debate these things. So it's not like I'm really sharp on all these issues. But I
Yeah,
don't mind.
I hear you, but I hear what you're saying, but again, the way you get sharp on it is by having dialogues about the
No, no,
topic.
that's
Like that's
fine.
how
That's
I
fine.
grew.
Yeah, I always tell people the more you cook me, it improves my flavor. So
Oh, hey, I like that one, man. I hear you. Hey, look, as I would say, hey, look, I got hit by a few shells, but now I'm walking with ligma. Inside joke. But yeah, I hear you, man. But with the sun, though, right? Because you said it could be in the sun. But would you agree that according to the Bible, it says that the sun is in motion, but not the earth?
I believe that that's phenomenological language. You're gonna cook me on flat Earth, man. I don't have enough faith in
Fair
science
enough. Fair
either
enough.
way. Either way. I don't trust the science on either side. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the
Hey,
media
well,
and
I'll
the
give you credit
information.
on that. I'll give you credit because most guys like this cat, Jack Smack 77. Like I even put a comment up earlier. They said, "Oh, this." Even his own audience turned against him there. They like I even saw what he was talking about. I looked at the comments on the video, and like 90% of them were people like dogging on this dude. So on one hand, they'll repeat everything he says, but then when he goes against that flat Earth stuff, then they did a 360 on him, and started to, eat that guy alive, right? Like a damn pack of piranhas. It was brutal in that chat, man.
Well, Jack Smack's a shock jock, and when you're a shock jock, certain people are going to follow you, and these people have certain tendencies. So, but then the thing is, that's what the Bible says, and this is just a general principle. I'm not saying he's a false teacher, but the Bible says they have itching ears and they heap up teachers for themselves. So the reason we follow who we follow is because we have a desire to be underneath them. A lot of times we're like, man, this person is taking advantage and exploiting them. Yeah, they'll be held accountable for that. But those people chose that, you know, just like a drug addict chooses to go get that dope. Yeah, it's true. The drug dealer is trying to get you hooked and the first hit is free, but that ain't the point. The point is that both the drug dealer and the addict are both held accountable. You know,
Right, I hear. But wait, but with that stance though, wouldn't you agree that God holds that stance too? That if you still continue to sin, like I'll quote a verse for you. If you read, Hebrews 10:26, it says, "If you continue to willfully sin after you believe, there remains no more sacrifice for your sins."
Yeah,
So, like,
that the
when you
back
Yep,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah, the backdrop for that is Numbers 15, where it talks about sins that are capital punishment crimes, and
Yeah.
no sacrifice was offered for them, and there's others that were that. And so this is a warning about 70 AD. And it also has secondary application for us, but it's not talking about loss of salvation. It's just divine discipline. You're underneath the penalty, divine discipline, and God can kill you. God could take you out. Uh, but yeah, I mean, there is warnings. I don't deny that there's warnings. I just believe that the promise is that
Speaking
we're
of
eternally
warning
secure.
But speaking of warnings, though, this is an interesting point. Like, there's multiple examples we could give where, like, say, for instance, in was that Matthew 15 with that woman, the Canaanite woman. I mean, excuse me, I got the wrong one. If you read John 8 with that woman that was in
Uh-huh.
adultery, Christ told her to go and don't sin anymore. I'll give another one. If you read, was that I want to say John chapter 5 verse 14,
Uh-huh.
after that man that was trying to get bathed in that water, right? Christ healed him, but then he told him to go and don't sin, lest a worse thing come upon you. So,
Yeah.
wouldn't you at least agree with me that Christ is clearly teaching these people to turn from unrighteousness?
Yes, he is. But I
Okay,
believe those people were already saved, most likely. So it's not about salvation. It's just about discipleship. You need to
but how are
replicate.
they already saved?
They believe the gospel.
But what was the gospel? Like were there parts in there that are
Well,
not written down
at
for
that
us, or
time, it would be that uh Yahweh is the one that's made the covenant with Israel and that provides for you life and all this, and he's sending the Messiah. But see, the thing is, at that time, you could believe in Yahweh, but not know and believe in the promise of the Messiah, but not know who the Messiah is. And I think that's what the Gospels are mainly about. When people reject Jesus as Messiah, they're rejecting his claim of his offer of his kingdom. It's not about salvation from and the way that most Christians think. It's about the offer of the kingdom.
but with that offer of the kingdom, like, isn't there something you have to do for it? Like, you
Yes,
just gotta say like
Israel,
one word
Israel,
once and believe.
Israel has to repent to receive the kingdom. That's
But
what I was saying. And
what do the Gentiles gotta do then? Is it something
well,
different?
during the tribulation, there will be a great multitude that comes out of the tribulation, and there will be what's called the judgment of the sheep and the goats, and that's at the second coming of Christ, and that determines who gets to go into the millennial kingdom. So you will have sheep. The sheep are from the nations because Jesus told in Matthew 25, he said, Lord, when did we do this to you? He said, whenever you did this to my brethren, you did it to me. And Jesus's brethren is Israel. It's not the church, it's Israel. And the Gentiles will be held accountable during the tribulation for how they treat Israel during the tribulation. Because it's going to be really bad anti-Semitism during that time. Uh, and and so God's going to hold them accountable, but he's going to wipe out all unbelievers so that whenever the kingdom begins, he's going to repopulate the earth with all believers.
I hear you. But real quick, just to head back to that point I made about the repentance, right? Like, for hypothetical example, like, what would have happened if that woman in John 8 didn't listen to Christ and went and did that again? Do you think that he would be okay with that since she believed, or
And
what?
he's not okay, but she's not going to go to see, it's difficult for me to say this because y'all don't believe in the lake of fire. Y'all just think it's America burning. So I don't know what other term to use. And y'all
But
don't
real
believe
quick,
in
but layman,
annihilationism.
real quick, but I want
All
to
right.
point out real quick, regardless of what the lake of fire is, which if you read Revelation 20:14, it says, "And death and hell was cast into the lake of fire." So
Uh-huh.
hell can't be the lake of fire because hell's
I,
being thrown into it. But wait, let
right.
me finish real quick. Even
Yeah.
even though we don't believe the lake of fire is hell, we still believe there's a fire judgment that people are going to get punished with. We just believe it's here on the physical earth, but we
Yeah.
don't take
So
that fact away that there
it
is a punishment.
yeah, but it's just physical death.
But even by wait, but clarify this. Even by your own view, aren't people physically being thrown into the lake of fire? So wouldn't that be a physical death by your worldview?
Well, in my view, in my current view is eternal conscious torment. But if you take the view that the lake of fire is going to be America burning, then that just means that people are going to physically die.
Yeah, but I'm saying even by your belief, though, these people are going to get resurrected and cast into that fire. So aren't they still physically there by your view? You'd have to say, yeah, right?
They're going to physically die when Christ comes back, and yeah,
Yeah.
but in my view, they would be eternally in the lake of fire, where they just get burned up, and that's it. They cease
Well,
to exist.
here's a
They get
verse for you. Isaiah 66, verse 24, and I'm nearly paraphrasing, don't go in front of me, but it says, they shall walk over their carcasses where the worm doesn't die and the fire is never quenched. And we see a
right,
reference to that in was that Mark the 9th chapter, where the worm never
huh?
dies, fire never quenched. But there it says
You
their
know,
carcasses, right? So they
yeah.
died eventually, and their carcasses are just there charred,
Well, yeah,
right?
they used to throw dead bodies in Gehenna also.
Right. Wait,
So
so
yeah,
hold on a second. So you're telling me that Isaiah 66 is talking about Gehenna?
uh, well, I think maybe I'm not sure. I mean,
I mean,
it just
real quick,
depends
could
because
you, for the audience sake, not to cut you off, but for the audience and sake of conversation, can you pull up Isaiah chapter 66, verse 15 on down?
Isaiah 66:15.
Yeah, just to give you some context of what's going on in the chapter.
For behold, the Lord will come in fire. Okay, that sounds like the second coming. And his
Right.
chariots like the whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For the Lord will execute judgment by fire and by sword on the flesh, and those slain by the Lord will be many. Those who sanctify and pure themselves to go to the gardens, following the one in the center, who eat swine flesh, detestable thing, and mice, will come to an end and altogether, declares the Lord.
Yeah, you can
They know
stop
that,
there.
yeah.
But that I'm just giving you some context of the chapter so you can see starting a little bit above verse 24. We see here in 15 on down, this is talking about the second coming. So
Right.
verse
But
24 would be happening after that time, not in ancient Israel.
no, I'm not denying that, but my point is it's going to be the same location because when
Same
Christ comes
location.
back, yeah, in my view, Christ is coming back. He's going to go to Petra first or Basra. Then he's going to go to the Mount of Olives, which is in
Well,
Jerusalem.
well,
And
where's it gonna
Gehenna's in the same area.
just real quick for you? The Bible says in Revelation 1:7, he comes with clouds and every eye will see him, even they who pierced him. How's every eye going to see Christ if he's only in one location and doesn't travel around the world?
Well, he could be a gigantic Christ, or that could be a reference to video cameras and YouTube and things like that. Or one argument is, well, you're I don't know if you believe in the world or Earth rotates or whatever, but one
No.
argument is that if he comes slowly, less like everybody could see a comet at once, you know. But so I don't know. I don't know how to explain that to a flat earther. We'll probably go with the camera argument.
Well, I mean, to be fair though, that verse would make more sense on a flat earth because say for instance, I've seen guys try to say that Christ could come like in the center and every eye could see him that way, and then they'd say it wouldn't really make sense on a spinning globe. But that argument to the side, right? I'll even give you a bonus example. Like if you read Revelation 19, it talks about the armies of the world and the kings of the earth being gathered
Mhm.
together to fight against Christ. So, like, where is that going to happen at? Like,
That's a good question. There's different debates about that particular issue because there's different battles. There's four views about when it occurs. If this is the same thing as the Gog Magog thing that's in Ezekiel 38, my current view is that the Gog Magog thing is actually going to happen in the first part of the tribulation because
and
that's
by
during
the way, in case you didn't hear me, I didn't say when it happened. Just said like where would it happen, just to clarify.
Oh, I believe this is all going to be in Israel,
Are going to be in Israel.
Middle East.
Okay. I mean, fair enough. But with this stance being said, like, hell, say for instance, like even when you read Matthew 24, which you brought up earlier, he's going to send his angels around to gather together his elect. So you'd agree that this is going to be like a worldwide event, not just in one
Right.
one
Yes.
location, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I think we could end that off there. You have any other point you want to bring up before I continue, or
No, no. I
okay?
was just flowing where you were going, you know?
Yeah, you're just going with that flow, man. Hey, sometimes somebody even said in the comments that you were even able to keep up with my flow. So got to give
Oh.
you credit on that. Hey, look, man. Hey, look. ETT can go absolutely super sane, Challenger deep, max level. That's the type of levels I can go on. But I just like to keep it chill. Right? Hey, look, I just took a damn chill pill, for tonight. That's what I'm on here doing, right? Just keeping it chill and relaxed on here. So one other thing we could talk about, which again I don't want to keep all your time because I know you're busy. But one other thing, like what about like unclean animals? From your view, do you believe that like those dietary laws is not something we have to live by in today's standards?
No. I believe that all that was given to Israel and the theocracy's been set aside. The church is not Israel, so we can't be jacking Israel's stimulus check. So we can't be messing with their stuff.
But real quick, you believe that God's laws are to all the world, right? Not just Israel.
Well, they will be in the kingdom. The new covenant, whether you think it's a reinstated Mosaic covenant or something similar, it's going to rule the whole world, but it's not right now.
Just a side note for you.
We're under the time of the Gentiles right now.
Just a side note. The Bible says, 1 John 3:4, for sin is the transgression of God's law. So here's a question for you. If the laws are not for like the over governance over the entire world, how can people that are non-Israelites commit sin if the law wasn't given to them?
Well, because there's different laws. The Mosaic covenant was given to Israel, but the church has its own code. I don't know if it's a covenant, but it's a code.
Where
Because
do
we
we
know
read
from the
about that?
commands that are given. Huh?
Where do you read that new church code at?
Well, number one, it any command. Goes back to my Sons of Thunder discussion that I was having.
Right.
Is any command that is mentioned after the cross, uh, that's an additional command. It's an additional code, and so I would say in my view, that the church comes into existence in Acts 2. And so we could call that the church code, or like I said, the post-cross law of Christ, things like that. But of course, it goes with the assumption that I believe that Christ completed and fulfilled the Mosaic law, that the Mosaic law was the constitution and legislation for the theocracy of Israel, because the theocracy of Israel has been temporarily set aside during the time of the Gentiles, that it's not going to be brought back until the tribulation. Um, the Antichrist is actually going to mock God or imitate him and make people think that it's coming back. I think that's why you hear statements about the temple being rebuilt and all of those things like that, is because he's going to try to imitate what the Messiah is going to do.
All right, I understand. I understand what you're saying, but with the unclean thing, so you'd say that there's not unclean animals today?
Well, I would say that the Gentile is not underneath the Mosaic law. Now, I know that there were unclean animals before the Mosaic law existed, because Noah was given revelation about which ones were clean and unclean whenever
Right.
they put on the ark, you know. But let me put it this way: if there are unclean animals, we can still eat them. At least Gentiles can still eat them, or the church can still eat them.
Okay. Well, what do you think about that prophetic verse you read just a couple of minutes ago in Isaiah 66? Did you catch verse 17? It said, "Those
Yeah,
that sanctify themselves, they eat the mouse and the abomination and the swine shall be consumed
yeah.
together, says the Lord." So, like, why do you think that those people are going to get killed for like eating those abominations? And you agree that this was future context, going off verse
Yeah,
15,
because
right?
this is referring to the pagans, because all of these things were according to the pagans' diet and lifestyle that was going on at that time, and that will go on in the future. Um, I mean, without me knowing a little bit more about this context of this passage, that would be my general answer.
Okay.
But if you're
So,
interested, I can tell you a commentary that's free that you can use for your future studies. It's called Constable's Notes, and it's updated every year. Good scholarship, and you know, you can compare it to your views. And this is the beautiful thing about the Black Hebrew Israelite thing is y'all can have differences within y'all's camp. So if you come to a different conclusion as somebody else, that's fine, right? I mean, you go where the truth's at.
well, well, I'll say this, right? Most camps that I've seen, I mean, they do something called a unity camp where like two different groups might come together, even if they have like free disagreements on topics. But if you're going to be
Mhm.
in a group, you got to teach what the group says. Like, say, for
Right.
instance,
Or
it would
leave the
be
group and start your own, right?
right, right. You know, even if, say, for instance, if I had a group and someone left, we should keep it brotherly. No reason to, name call and, consider them an enemy or something like that over a doctrinal difference. Like, I'll give you an example. Like the Sakari group, they've been a group for like 13 years, and just this year they split up. The deacon, Hakah, and Hassad,
Uh-huh.
which were the top two in command underneath Guerrilla Hebrew, they left the group and started their own group called Genesis.
Right.
So again, over a course of time, some groups can splinter off, but you could always keep it brotherly, even if people leave the group. But yeah, we wouldn't like say for instance, like if somebody wanted to get with me, but then they're going around teaching that Vatican City's mystery Babylon or that the MOTB is Sunday worship. I'd boot them out. They're not allowed to come around here and
Yeah.
teach that.
Right. Yeah.
Just as one
Yeah.
example.
Right. But I mean, the good thing is that even though, yeah, of course, you would start another camp if you changed your view on something. The point is, you can change your view. Y'all are not like
Right.
Catholics that are locked in, and got to listen to what the Pope says.
Right. Right.
Um,
I understand.
yeah, I put in the private chat the commentary, just a little snippet from there. I'll give you a link for that resource, but that's what it says about that particular verse.
All right. Cool. Cool. Um. So let's see. Layman, you got anything else? Or are you good?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Cool. Cool. And again, if you have to go, just let me know, and then we can end it out. But if you want, we can continue on for maybe 20 more minutes or something like that. If you want.
Yeah, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay. Man, let's see. What else do we got? Oh, I'll give you a good one, right? Like, what's your thoughts about if our actions don't really matter for salvation? Like, say, for instance, you can just believe, and then you could eat whatever you want, drink whatever you want, lay with any woman you want. If you can do all those things, what do you think about on the very last page of the Bible? It says that Christ is going to come back and judge everyone according to their works. Like if you read, I believe it's Revelation 22, verse 12. Christ said, I'm coming back and going to reward every man according to his work. So we look at that and say, well, God and Christ, they're looking at our actions and they're going to judge us according to how we live. But I'm just interested to see how the free grace community would view those verses.
Well, the way that I answer it is that there's a judgment that's separate for believers, the judgment seat of Christ, and then there's the great white throne judgment that is for people that never believed. And so there's at least 1,007 years separate from that time between those two events, in my view. Now the thing is that the judgment seat of Christ is to determine rewards in your rank, whereas the great white throne judgment is to determine one's destination. But actually, what determines one's destination is not the works that determines your degree of punishment, but rather what determines your destination is if your name's in the book of life. If, in other words, if you ever believe the gospel at one point in time.
Oh, and real quick, this brings up another interesting point because it says, if you read Revelation 22, verse 18 and 19, it says, anybody who adds to the things of this book, God's going to add to them the plagues. And anybody who takes away from the book, God's going to take their name out of the book of life. So, with that being said, would you agree that somebody can get their name taken out of the book of life? And if you do agree, doesn't that prove that somebody can lose their salvation?
It's possible that a name can be removed from the book of life. It depends how you understand certain passages. Whenever you study the book of life, I think the first reference is with the reference to my book, wherever Moses is interceding for Israel, and he's like, "Blot me out of the book," which means take me out, my physically die or whatever. Now we know that these other cultures in ancient Near East and stuff, they had a list of citizens and their conduct and stuff like that. So the difficulty thing with the Book of Life is, most people think it's about salvation. I think it's more about rewards. And so you can lose your inheritance, you can lose your part, your share in the book of life. The word blot your name out, your name refers to your reputation, your legacy, your inheritance, that idea right there.
But real quick
So
though, doesn't it state that the only people that can enter into the kingdom are the people that are written in the book?
depends what passage you're talking about.
Let's see. Off the top of the head, I might not know book, chapter, and verse on it, but as far as I know from my reading of Revelation, the only ones that were permitted to enter in were the ones that were written in the Lamb's book of life. You'd say that you don't hold to that then?
Well, I need to have the context, because the issue is some passages they'll be talking about like entering in gates and all of that, and that's not
Right.
about salvation. That's about there's a special VIP, entry and all of that stuff.
Yo, real quick before you continue, yo, Galapagos, you hear us?
Yeah, man. What's up, dude?
Hey, what's up, Galapagos? Glad to see you there. Hell, I just wanted to check to make sure it wasn't somebody impersonating you.
Nah,
Like
nah,
hell, it
nah. That's
in
why.
in the
That's why I
chat
specifically
earlier.
wrote that name on there.
Yeah, I see. But
Was
in
was
the
Perry
in
was
the chat
Perry in there?
earlier,
Yeah.
but let me finish real quick. Somebody earlier made a fake account of Perry and tried to join up. So I just had to check that. Like
Dude,
seriously, man, seriously. Yeah, hey, at first he caught me off guard. I was like, "Damn, is that Perry?" And then people called him out because they said his channel was like made last month or something, and he didn't even use capital letters. It was hilarious.
bro, I saw the comment from Perry. I just glanced at it. I had to go do something, and I was like, "Oh my god, is that really Perry? Like hopping on your stream again, just like stalking you?" But that's funny.
But
They
you
got
you know
Perry
what I find
burners
funny
now.
though, Galapagos, is ever since I did that debate with him, what was it, like 2 months ago now, he's been quiet, he's been as quiet as a damn mouse. He hasn't said a peep about me over there because everybody can see he got mauled, right? He got ate alive like a damn pack of hyenas or piranhas in that debate.
You
And
got
even
fed to
that
the
Jew
lions,
dude,
man.
David, agreed.
Dude, that guy, man. I I remember I tried saying something on one of his live channels, and he just one of his mods like immediately deleted my comment. I'm pretty sure I'm shadow banned from his channel, but yeah, man, it's like he popped up in a few of your live streams, but besides that, I've noticed ever since that debate, you've had like one or two of his groupies like show up commenting on your videos and stuff since then. So,
Right.
his congregation, they're not feeling that good, about what you said.
Yeah,
So
yeah, like Galapagos. You saw that debate I did the other day with that cat. What's that cat? Pathways. Y'all saw
yeah,
that? That
yeah,
was like you said in the comments. That was damn brutal, right, man?
dude, that guy got choke slammed, man. That was insane.
Oh man, it was pretty bad. Hey, look, I went relatively peaceful on him. Hell, if we were playing Minecraft, that was peaceful mode right there. Right, I went childish mode on that dude. Like, hey, look, I already saw it coming a mile away. When I got in there with that dude, I was gonna knock the ball out of the park, and I was gonna run multiple home runs on this guy. And I clearly performed that way. Hey, look, ETT never disappoints. I always bring the action, always bring the heat, always bring the sarcasm. It's all there.
Yeah, no, I was surprised to find out that guy's like, he's like what, like 31 or somewhere in his 30s.
Yeah, that dude's in
He
his
doesn't sound
30s.
like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that dude sounds
No
hella
disrespect
young.
to him, you know, if he's listening, but I was just like, I was
Right.
surprised.
Yeah, he was in the chat earlier, which I didn't put the link for him to hop up here because I don't think I got the patience for that tonight. But he was in the chat earlier, I see.
Yeah, I don't know,
But
man. That guy's like, he's stuck to your channel like a fly to a damn one of those lights you put out, one of those light traps, man. He keeps
yeah, I
coming
hear you.
back, and
Right,
he'll
right.
put whole like essays in your comment section.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, it's like 75 damn comments. It's like, damn, man, just click the link and let's just have a conversation. It's like, you really expect me to read and address every single comment? It's like, damn, it's hilarious. And then I joked that it's hilarious because remember that cat, Caden, the 14-year-old, even he came up here and had a friendly, respectable
Dude, I know, man.
backbone.
Like even Caden was more polite than that guy. Like
And
I
you
don't
know
know
what I
what
find?
I don't
You
know
know what
what
I
it is.
find hilarious though, Galapagos? If you watch the debate I did with Pathways, he tried to make it look like that me and Neo, we were like at neck with one another, was a totally disrespectful debate. And then I called him out. It's like, dude, literally, if you watch the discussion between me and Neo, that's like the most respectful thing around, which to be fair, I think um me and this brother, Layman, were more respectable. But yeah, me and Caden were hella peaceful. Hell, we were on Minecraft peaceful mode in that debate, right? No argument. It was just chill back and forth conversation. I don't know how anybody can watch that debate and tell me otherwise.
I don't think y'all threw a single curse word out that whole debate.
Yeah, I don't recall one time.
Man, it's like that one fella back in the day, man. You gotta be kind of like a veteran on this channel to remember him. This guy named Jack Burton. I remember
Oh yeah.
whenever Chirag was still around, we'd have like all those you and him would have those debates, and he'd always be commenting, "Oh my god, like why are you at this guy's throat, and why are y'all cursing at each other, going at it, and y'all are just
Oh,
like
and
being
know
respectful to
something
one another."
interesting, Galapagos. I recently, within the last month, I've got multiple emails from that guy, Jack, the one you're talking about, and he comes on telling me, oh, you guys got a false gospel, you guys need to turn to Jesus
Yeah,
and,
isn't he like
come
a
out of
full
that garbage.
on free gracer now?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. I'm pretty sure the guy's full on free grace at this point, as far as my memory goes.
That's wild, man. Like so many people, they just go in completely different directions. Like Primal Man, Poops, Mike. We don't
Yeah,
know what the heck happened to them. They kind of just they're up in a mountain somewhere or off the grid,
yeah.
homeless. Um, we don't know what happened to T-Mog. We can only speculate. Freaking Jack's a free gracer, and that guy Raphael, man, he's living under a bridge or something. Like
Oh yeah, that
I don't
dude.
know.
Oh man, hell, like somebody
Hey,
even put in Discord the other day. Even Deacon, right? Deacon Akai even makes fun of that guy. It's
hey,
hilarious.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
go
ahead and
ahead.
roll, but I'll upload and I'll pin the link underneath. All right.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Layman. And real quick, let me put this on the screen. Here's my personal Gmail. You can contact me there, and we can certainly set up a conversation. Again, I could even come on your channel or whatever. Because I remember, man, I've been trying to have a discussion with you for multiple months, and for whatever reason, we weren't able to work it out. But hey, man, I appreciate you coming up here. So hopefully we're
Yep.
on good terms now. So yeah, I'll definitely stop by again for a conversation. Hopefully you'll let me up.
All right. Later.
All right, cool. Thanks for stopping by. So yeah, Galapagos, I don't know if you got to call the conversation we just had the last 2 hours, but that guy, I call him like one of the top leaders in the free grace movement. So this was the first time that me and him had a conversation. So it was a reasonable conversation, respectable back and forth. But yeah, it was interesting to have that guy up here tonight.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of it. He didn't seem really combative or anything. He didn't yell at
Right.
you or nothing like the other free gracers, which is kind of funny. But um, yeah, that's cool. It seems like a lot of them. I don't know why. Whenever you have them on your channel or you go on their channel, it always turns into like a screaming match with them. Whenever all you're doing
Yeah.
is like just reading out some verses. You're not even like trying to say that they're inherently wrong, like flat out or anything, and they just get triggered, man. They start spurting out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really not us they're getting offended at. It's really the word that they're getting offended at. Hey, those demons come out as soon as that word comes out. That's how it seems.
They start wigging out when you start reading them skibbies, man.
Them skibbies. Hey, look, man, I got a new joke. Hey, look, like say for instance, that cat pathways. Hey, look, man, you don't know them skibbies. You don't know them skibbities. You can skibba these.
Oh
You
man, when
can
you said that in
skibba
one video, bro,
these.
I was rolling when you said that.
Yeah, like it was funny because it's a skibbity toilet
Yeah,
joke, but
yeah.
it's a triple line joke for their ass because it's the skibbities as far as the scriptures, skibbities, skibbity toilet, skibbities as in these nuts.
Hey man, it appeals to those Zoomers, on TikTok, those younger ones that are just
Oh
like
yeah.
brain
You
rotting
know what I find
themselves.
funny, Galapagos? I was at Walmart the other day, like literally, I went to the toy section to see what's going on back there, and literally, I found the Skibbity toilet stuff. That they
Oh
were
man,
damn near sold out. Like literally, they have like mystery packs that are like $10 and you get like one figure in it. They were literally one box left out of like a whole case of 50 of them. Unbelievable.
bro, that's insane. Like that's what kids are thinking is cool these days.
And you know what I find hilarious though? Because if you read the package, it says 13 plus. I'm thinking to myself, like, hold up, what? 13 plus? I thought like little 5-year-olds watch Skibbity.
Dude, me
That's
too.
crazy.
Yeah, it's insane, man. These kids are like they're just cooked. I feel kind of bad for them. I thought we had it bad, when we were growing up, like the kind of stuff they were pushing in the media, but now
Right.
it's so evident. Like this is just pure like degrading like to their mental
Yeah, I hear
well-being.
you, but don't forget Galapagos. We're in the kingdom. This is the kingdom of heaven right
Oh
now.
yeah,
Don't
yeah,
forget
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. We're in the new covenant, Christ's kingdom, and hey
Right.
man, pull up a folding chair and take a seat. This is as good as it gets, man. We
Yo, you
got
know what's funny though, Galapagos? Even that dude who believes that bullshit was even in the chat earlier. Look, he's right there on screen.
oh man, dude. I've been seeing a lot of them. Like, I think I told you a while back. I feel like free gracers and preterists they just kind of kicked off in 2023,
Yeah,
2024. I've seen
yeah,
so
man.
many of them just popping out of the woodworks and brand new channels. Already have 50K subscribers. Just
Pastor
amplified like
William
all over
Bell that's been
YouTube.
teaching for 40 plus years. He literally has a whole ministry. It's called All Things Fulfilled Ministry. Literally teaching that full preterism for 40 plus years. It's amazing to me. But yeah, you're right though, man. Like I remember going back to like 2018, 2019. There was only like what, one person on the internet, two people at most talking about full preterism. But hell, now it seems like there's more full preterists on the internet than Hebrew Israelites. It seems like to me. It's shocking to me.
Yeah, man, it's pretty crazy. This definitely has to be like part of some agenda because I swear, man, there was not this many channels like a year or two ago. Like there's so many now, and some of them have a lot of subs. Like I'm pretty sure that guy that you just mentioned, you said he's been around for 15, but some of these other guys, they've been around for not that long. Like their channels are fairly new.
Right, I hear you. You know, an interesting thing though, this guy, professing predators. Which, hey, look, if he's watching, man, look, to be respectful, but you got cremated in that last debate. Like, let's just be honest, man. I mopped the floor with you in our previous debate last month. I mean, somebody better call an ambulance because this brother is code blue on the floor at
Was
this
he
point.
saying
Like,
was he saying that like the 70 AD thing and like the mark of the beast was the currency that Rome had at the time and all that because that's like
as far as
that's
I know,
script
yes.
that's the
Yeah.
script, for the preterist. Like that's pretty much
And
all
by
they
the way,
say.
Galapagos, he even went a step further than that. He even went to like an Old Testament verse where like King David got like 666,000 pieces of gold from one of his voyages and tried to say, well, see, well, David had the mark. That's the mark in the Old Testament.
Oh my gosh, dude. That's
It's
crazy.
hilarious, absolutely hilarious, But and you know what I find funny? Like this same guy in the comment section professing preterist, this guy literally goes on other YouTube channels. Like there's a popular debate channel called Standing for Truth. This guy's like a regular on there. He's a celebrity on that channel. He's literally there like what, maybe once or twice every month having 3-hour debates about full preterism. It's shocking to me how this guy is so his mind is so trashed with this full preterism garbage that this guy will literally fight you tooth and nail, literally fight to the death to defend this full preterism. It's just quite bizarre to me.
I feel like that's kind of how you have to be, though, if you have a doctrine like that. You kind of have to be like hell bent and have like a narrow like view where it's just that it's only that or the highway, because if you even for a second step back and try looking at other viewpoints or belief systems, you'll be like, wow, like this actually sounds pretty freaking insane. Like that's why they're so like all gas no brakes, so to speak, with their belief. Like it's preterism or nothing type deal.
Hell, they're trying. If hell exists, they're trying to pull as many people there as they can with them. It seems.
Dude, 100%, man. Dude, you know what I was thinking, and I was laughing about it. You know how Perry's like, I can't sin. Christ died for everything. He died for everybody. He died for
Right.
pedos and everybody, the drug addicts. What if Perry came across somebody that was like, all right, Perry, all right, Perry Green, I agree with your doctrine. I can't sin either, but I don't believe in hell. And like would they have like a conflicting, because supposedly he kicked out those two other guys because they didn't believe in the flat earth. And
Yeah. I
that's why he
believe it
said they
was.
didn't line up.
I
But
believe
it's like
fat ass dogs got kicked out over that, if I'm not
and it's
mistaken.
crazy because he's always in your comments now.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
just saw him today. He was in a video, the
Yeah.
video you just uploaded. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
have you noticed most of these like ex-Perry like members, they're not even so much as focused on the preacher and like rebuking his doctrine. For some reason, they're like on your butt and like just following you around. It's like you stab somebody and the person that called 911, the victim goes after instead of the person that attacked them. It's like what?
Right. I hear you. Hey, look, they're coming after me because they see that their leader got mortally wounded in that debate, so they're trying to cover his ass.
You said he was code blue, man. That guy,
Yeah. Hey,
like, he
look,
fell on his own sword.
he is code blue. Left him on the ground looking cold and blue. Like, I mean, seriously, this guy. I mopped the floor with this dude.
Bro,
I knocked the
that
ball out of the park, run multiple home runs on this guy.
that guy had
Absolute
to get
body bag.
resuscitated, man, and he couldn't. So they had to throw in like one of his underlings, and that girl joined. Remember, and she was just
Yeah.
parroting what he was saying like a sock puppet. Like, do you sin? Do you sin? She even had like the same kind of. She was saying it the same way he does. So he trains his members well, man. He probably drills it into their brain, like.
Yeah, I got to give him that. I mean, to be honest with you, man, I think he's giving them like incentives. Like, say for instance, I'd be willing to bet money that this guy's like going on the dark web buying stuff off of the Silk Road. If anybody knows what that is, this dude's buying stuff off of there, these substances, and giving them out to people as sweet treats if they do his Bible studies. I kid you not.
Oh yeah,
I
man.
that's my conspiracy on it.
Yeah, dude, I bet you $100 in a Pornhub shirt is like nothing compared to like what he gives his members now. I remember
Hilarious.
T Leader did a study with him, and he actually, gave him the Bible. I think he sent him a shirt, and he even gave him some money. So,
Yeah.
but these
Yeah.
days, man, you got to be on some like extra like help in order to believe that doctrine. So,
Yeah, I mean, seriously, man,
probably
it's
cooking up
getting
something
wild out
special in
here.
that RV.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, man. You know, again, it's getting wild out here with these garbage doctrines. Like how the hell is it on
Oh
one
man,
hand
it
we got a
is,
guy
bro.
saying just believe in sweet baby Jesus and then you can rob Walmart all you want, it's not bad, but don't listen to those guys like ETT that try to tell you to live righteously. They're trying to lead you to hell. And then on the other
Dude,
hand, we got people saying that we're living in the kingdom of heaven, yet meanwhile World War III is starting to open up on multiple fronts right now. Yeah, this is heaven.
dude, I
Amazing.
remember I went into this Christian Discord some months back, probably like 6 months ago. And because I knew this guy that was kind of like an acquaintance and he wanted me to join just because he wanted to hear what I have to say because he knows kind of
Right.
my belief system and he thinks I'm kind of out there, but he's not, disrespectful to me or anything. And
Yeah.
I talked to one of his buddies and he's like this Orthodox guy that lives in America in the US. And I was just trying to tell him, I was like, yo, like I believe, like Jesus is did die on the cross. He resurrected, but I don't think he's like literally like talking to himself on the cross, like he's God. And then the guy's like, oh man, you're going off. We Orthodox and Catholics, we might not agree on everything, but what we do agree on is like the Trinity, and God is Jesus and Jesus is God and God sent himself down in a lesser form. I don't It's all convoluted, man. And like he even started like tripping over his own wording when like I was really like questioning him about it. And I'm just like, dude, like what you're saying, man, like it just doesn't make any sense. Like I'm
Yeah,
sorry, like
I hear
he's
you.
talking to he and I even told him, I was like, bro, you don't know who you're talking to. I was born and raised a Catholic. I didn't ask for it. I was for the first like 17, 18 years of my life, I was a Catholic. Um, I left that stuff like as soon as I was like legally, able to, like I was
Right.
considered an adult. But my whole life I was, told all that stuff. And even back then I would question it all the time. I'm like, wait, so this guy, he's God, but he died on the cross and all. It was like it just doesn't make any sense. I had a bunch of questions and they could never answer it. They could never give me a straight answer about it. It was just always
Right.
overlapping, theories and stuff that just didn't, add up.
But yeah, I hear you. Hell, and that's gonna bring us right back to Neo. Remember when Neo was trying to tell me, well, Mary was sinless. Then I ask him, it's like, well, doesn't the Bible say that Christ was the only sinless person to ever live? So how the hell could Mary be sinless?
Yeah, I know. And he and another thing is like they have like all these saints and stuff and they pay homage to them and they pray to them. And it's like,
Yeah.
growing up, I didn't think it was that strange. But when I took a step back and I left Catholicism, I'm like, wait, this is strictly like a Catholicism, like orthodoxy, like type thing. Like, not many Christian belief systems do this, like paying homage to Mary, paying homage to the saints, praying to the saints. Yeah, they even give you little prayer cards, of different saints. And they say, if you say the prayer and pray to them, like they'll protect you and stuff. So it's kind of strange. It's kind of out there. And I didn't really realize it until, again, like I wasn't a Catholic anymore.
Yeah, I hear you, man. But yeah, what's strange with these free grace guys, it's like I even gave them the example of a buddy I know that left Christianity, left the so-called truth after multiple years, and now the dude's a damn Hindu today. He worships 300 gods. And these guys tell me, like, yes, your friend is absolutely saved forever, even though he's a Hindu now and worships 300 gods. It's
Dude,
amazing
you
to
know
me.
what I think really, ETT, you know what I think a really part of it is, like on the grand scheme of things? I think the Christian church knows that, they barely got anybody up in those pews. They'll probably welcome Perry Green back again with open arms as long as he claims to be like a Christian. They'll be like, hey, we need all the numbers we can get on our team,
Yeah, I hear you.
because
Like,
they got
to add,
rainbow. It's like you were saying, I'm glad you've been making these videos exposing this stuff too, because they got rainbows on their team. They got people that are with for the same gender marriage and all that, and
right,
the controversial they're for the abortion stuff, man. And it's like, when the heck was this Christian? Like, dude, if you went to a person 50 years ago in the US at like a Christian church and you told them that later on this would all be the norm in Christian like mainstream churches, they'd be like, what the heck kind of warped future is happening there? Like, what happened?
right. Yeah, I hear you, man. Like hell, we don't even have to go that far back. I remember when I was little going to church. I mean, sure, there was corruption and bad stuff going on there too, but at least back then, say 10, 15 years ago, whatever, people understood that the Bible had a set of morals that, man and man relation was not allowed. But now, if you go to tell people like that today, if you go and tell the church that, they'll label you as hate. Like, why are you coming spreading hate? Right? We don't accept that here. Jesus is all love. We don't accept that hate. And then if you try to go to a verse in the Bible to show them what the book says about this matter or that matter, they'll turn the other way and don't want to hear it. It's really pathetic.
I will give Perry this though, man. If he waits another like 5, hell, even 10 years, most of these Christians might as well probably just convert to Perryism because that's pretty much all already what they believe. Like they don't really believe in sin. They're all like, oh yeah, man, you put it on Jesus, hey, you're good, you're golden. Well, I'll see you in the kingdom. Like we're all gonna be there. And it's like, man, if they believe in the rapture, I don't know if they all do. I know some of them don't. It's like, I guess they think all of them are going. Like, damn, the earth is going to be basically left with like 10 people if they're all getting saved.
Galapagos, look at this comment real quick. This cat came on here and said, I think we might be living in Satan's little season right now.
Dude, I've been seeing that a lot too. Like a lot of people on YouTube are pushing that now.
Yeah, it's
That's
bizarre
another
because
one that I've been seeing a lot. That's crazy.
yeah, it's bizarre to me because it's like if that's the case, which they get that from like what is that Revelation? I believe it's the 20th chapter. They get that from. It's like so by that logic, then they must believe that like Christ already came and we're like after his 1,000-year reign and Satan's loose for a little season right now. It's shocking to me, how many people believe this garbage on the internet. It's really strange.
Yeah, man, it's pretty wild. Like the whole Christian like religion is that comment there.
Yeah,
They're
look at that
probably just
comment.
kidding around, but still that's funny as heck, man. Um, it's just wild, man. It's like a coordinated effort. I've been seeing online. They really looks like Muslims and Christians are being pitted against one another. Like at first, there was the whole like thing going on in Israel, but now it's like I'm seeing this narrative with Christians in the U.S. at least, where it's like we need to take our country back. We need to become a Christian nation, and back Trump and all that. And it's like, dude, like they think they're gonna get some Christian utopia, like the it's going to be like the medieval times or something, if they all LARP and, come together with all their different congregations, but they don't even agree on like anything together. So it's just crazy, man. I don't think it's actually going to happen, but they're just bugging out.
Galapagos, look, Jay didn't even know who was on.
Well, Jay's gone through a lot, man. I don't expect him to remember me, like I hope
Yeah,
that
I hear
guy's
you. Hey,
doing okay. He's
yeah, I hear you, man. Hey, look, as I've always said, man, since T-Mog left, the streams have never been the same. The streams never have been the same since what they were like, what, 3 years ago. It's pretty sad, but hey, we told the guy like, hey, look, man, you don't have to sell your all your possessions and quit your job and live on the streets. It's like don't take it that serious, man. Like he was saying that Christ will return by like January 1st, like 2000, what is it, 23 or something like that, 22. And we told him it's like, hey, man, don't keep putting these prophecies
Yeah, no, and then he
on these
was
dates.
yeah, and then he was like, if I'm not here and y'all are still waiting in 2024, like just stop. Like he's not coming after 2024. I'm like, dude, dang, like I was like, man, I know he wants him to return like bad, but I was like, bro, just chill a minute. Like he's going full on, trying to follow it to a T, man. Like he's more intense than Mike. Mike was wearing
Yeah.
fringes and blowing a horn like in the morning and like all this other stuff. And T-Mog was like, nah, dude, I'm selling everything. I'm dang near being homeless. And he was like, I'm just riding it out. If he comes, he's gonna show up. And if not, well, then that's it. I'm like, dang, man, like that's crazy.
Man, he reminds me of the Miracle of the Sun event. I believe it happened in the 30s, but anybody can look this up on Wikipedia. They convinced everybody that there was going to be like a second coming of Christ on like some weekday or whatever, and then they all sold their possessions, sold their homes, sold their vehicles, and whatever else they had to get ready for this rapture and second coming that was about to happen. And guess what? The day came and went, and people, by the tens of thousands, were left with empty-handed, with nothing, because they believed in a fairy tale and believed in false informations and false prophecies. So, hey, minus Shrek, we tried to warn the guy, like, hey, look, man, you don't have to take it this serious by literally, selling everything, becoming homeless. It's like, just take a chill pill, man. Just, chill out and, just take it easy a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of got his point where he was like, I don't want to work again. I don't want to be a part of the system. I mean, I don't think any of us do. Um, oh yeah, Sacramento. Yeah, that's right. Mike threw it all out, and same with Primal Man. I'm pretty sure. Like, I think they're living in the Rockies or in the side of a mountain right now or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember he did one stream or one short video. I think LOP showed me, and Mike and Primal Man were in the same exact. They were like in some kind of. It looked like a treehouse together. So I don't know what the heck they're doing, but
Yeah, man. I
they're
seen that
probably
they were
trying to
both
ride out
together.
the apocalypse or something. I don't I don't know. I remember one time Mike asked me, LOP, and I think Rudy was there, and he was like, "Man, you guys should like fly up here, live with me, and like grow mushrooms, and like y'all, I'll give y'all a place to stay and stuff." I'm like, dude, this guy's like, I don't trust Mike, first of all, and second of all, I'm like, nah, that just sounds sketchy. Like, I'm not about to get caught up in something like that's crazy, but.
Yeah, I hear you. Like I'll give you an example, man. Like Mike was okay with me, but it was funny because I didn't see him for a whole year. Then I finally find his new page and he was live with LOP, and I join on there. And the first thing out of his mouth is like some type of like criticism. It's like, dude, and the whole thing ended up going downhill. But I'm thinking it's like, dude, you don't see me in an entire year. It's like, can't you just be respectful? You know what I'm
Bro,
saying?
Mike's shifty, man. He's like a little like snake. You got to watch out for him, man. He'll put on a different act there. He's like a con man, kind of.
Hey, I'll tell you one thing though. He's definitely hip hopping around them skibbies. He's hopping around them skibbies. One year it's Jesus this, the next year the New Testament is fake. The next year there's no other gods. But then the next year he'll be like, well, maybe there's other gods that exist besides the Most High. Again, he's wishy-washy and will turn like a damn washer. It's unpredictable with this guy.
Then he threw out the Old Testament, and then he threw it all out. And I'm like, God.
Yeah,
And then
it's
Primal Man,
crazy.
I remember asking him one time, like in the chat, I think when he was still in your Discord, I was like, so, like, are you still a preterist this year? And he's like, nah, it's all BS. The whole Bible, everything, it's all BS. I'm like, dang, man. Like, these cats are just falling off. But as they're falling off, man, we're starting to see, this kind of weird, like, free grace movement, like, picking up on in line with these other, bug out doctrines. They're all trying to come in alignment with one another, and I don't know. I don't know what the end goal is, but it's clear to me that this is not like Christianity, like what it was, meant to be. Like these, it's just a bunch of bug outs that have like the biggest voice nowadays, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's so bad now, man, that I think I even mentioned in that video earlier that there's literally groups online. Like there's a group out there named Catholics for Choice, and they're literally a group of Catholics that the only thing that they push on their channel is they demand abortion rights, right? They stand with abortion rights. So on one hand, they believe in sweet Jesus, but on the other hand, they believe in women being able to get abortions on demand. And I think to myself, it's like, well, how the hell can you claim to be a follower of the Bible when it clearly teaches that this is a sin and not okay? Like if you read Exodus 21:22, it says if a man hurts a woman with child that her fruit depart, then you're supposed to give life for life. So just off that example alone, it's clear God considers children in the womb to be alive. It's astonishing to me how you could have a church out there that would be pro-abortion. It's just shocking, but it shows the time that we're living in.
Dude, I remember, it seems like a lifetime ago now, with all that's gone on since then. But, I remember in 2020 and like 21, just the churches around me where I live, they had signs outside, they had drives, people could come in and take that thing. And I'm like, bro, this is mad. Like, people are still going along, not only going along with it, but they're still going to these churches and, giving praise, paying tithes to them and all that. And it's
Yeah,
like, dude, what is going on? I feel like we're in like the upside down world since then. Like
yeah,
it's been
absolutely, man.
crazy.
Like there was one church locally, like I don't know if you saw a short I did where I showed that church flying the pride flag. Like literally, I'm not even kidding, like 300 feet from that church, there was another stone church. And I remember going there and like, well, not into it, but I walked past the door in like 2021, and they had a sign on the door which said, "You cannot enter this premise without giving a yab and wearing a face diaper." I was thinking to myself, it's like, wow,
Or
these churches are
as
just
T-Mug
going
would say,
along to
a
get along.
Job 924.
Yeah. Right, right.
But yeah, no, man, that's insane. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that Job 9:24. For those listening, it says the earth was given into the hands of the wicked. He covers the faces of the judges thereof, if not where and who is he? And Shrek always tried to say the who part means the World Health Organization. It's hilarious. It's like, dude, just because it says the word who, that doesn't mean it's the World Health Organization. I mean, I think you're just he's just reaching, just like with that whole sequence videos. Remember that? He was just reaching. Like every chapter in the Bible has the sequence in it. It's like, no, dude, you're just reading that into it. It's like, chill down with a lot of this nonsense that you're on here, spewing.
Yeah, that's the thing about, like not just the Bible, but just about any, religious book. If you go into it and go hard enough, like in it and like hyper focus on different things, you'll eventually like see a pattern and you'll come to the belief that like, hey, this is something divine like that I'm seeing. And, you'll run with it. And some people have started whole like damn near religions, breakaway religions off like stuff like that, and it can make people bug out and go crazy.
Yeah, it can, like the whole thing, which I'll watch what I say because YouTube might not like certain words, but the same thing with that Heaven's Gate cult back in like what, the
Yeah,
90s,
they
if
thought
you're
they were the
familiar
two
with that.
witnesses.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, the leader convinced, like, I believe it was like what, 40 people to, delete themselves and move on,
Yeah,
from this world altogether. So
they
yeah, it
they
shows how the
they went with
brainwashing can go deep.
Rudy, man, or Rooney. Shout out Rooney, man.
Rodney
Rest in peace,
McNabb.
Rooney.
Oh yeah. Like, man, I seen man, I remember even Pathways made a joke about that, but he didn't know. Like he said something along the lines of like, "Yeah, mind blowing," and I was like, "Man, you don't even know what you're saying, man. That joke goes over his head."
He probably unintentionally said that.
Yeah, hell,
But
I don't know, man.
I don't know, man. He's kind of funny, man. He's like 1 minute he's joking, and then the second minute he's coming at you like you're his 5-year friend and you stabbed him in the back or something. Like
Yeah, like I'll
he
give him
takes
this.
that stuff to heart.
He got some jokes, but he's definitely not the brightest bulb in the box, though. But I know he's gonna get offended at that because, like,
Oh,
let me tell you this: how is it that this preacher of God on YouTube gets offended by you calling him an ice cream cone? Like, how the hell does that make sense?
didn't
And
he
and you know
say
what
that? Didn't he get mad? You called him a cat or something like that?
Well,
Like
here's what happened. Here's what happened. He got mad because I called him a cat. Then Jamie Babble on called him a cap cat. But then I smoked him. Listen here. I gave him an absolute nail in the coffin. I sealed him up like the cask of Amontillado because I asked him, wait a second, if you're going to tell me it's disrespectful to call you a cat, by the same line of logic, would you say it's disrespectful when Christ told that Canaanite woman that she was a dog? That was an absolute mic drop moment. Absolute knockout right there. If he's gonna come at me for calling him a cat, then he gotta come at Christ for calling a woman a dog. Absolute knockout.
you had him looking like the bottom half of Betty Ripson.
Yeah, I mean that dude was tap dancing. He was tap dancing around them skibbies, and he can skip the D's.
It's wild, man. Like just all that's happened in such a short time, dude. Like we're seeing these, free gracers kind of like start their own movement. I'd even say that free grace and what is it like the Trinitarians? They're
Yeah.
getting numbers like Mormon level recruitment numbers because I'm seeing them everywhere, man. I'm seeing it on TV ads and on Twitter, Facebook. All these big accounts that just seemingly spawned out of like 2 years ago, like the 100,000 follower accounts, all preaching like the free grace and everything, and it's wild, man. Like I do see a few of them saying that it is the end times. I do see a few of them saying that, but outside of that, man, I see them saying, "Oh, just do whatever. It's fine. You don't have to follow the law. Like Jesus did away with all of it." And that's why I say they're like they're like preemie Perrys, because
Yeah.
they're not all the way there yet. But I mean, give it a little bit of time, and they might all adopt Perryism. I would not be
Yeah,
surprised
I
if
mean, it
Perry
wouldn't
becomes
surprise me,
popular in a
man.
couple of years.
Yeah, hell, I can believe it. I mean, hell, by the way things are going, I can hella see that. But what I find weird though, man, is these guys, these street racers, trick themselves into saying they literally would tell me that what we teach about having works and not just believing, but having works to show your belief. They'll say this is like the most popular belief, but then free grace, just believe once and you're saved forever. That's like a least held view that only a couple people have. And I'm laughing at myself. It's like, really? It's like as far as I know, growing up and talking to countless people of like Catholic belief or whatever, if I ask people what you got to do to get saved, they'll be like, just believe in Jesus and you're saved. So, I mean, like, how the hell is that like a least held view if literally hundreds and hundreds of millions of people around the world will literally tell you that all you got to do to get saved is just believe in Jesus and you're guaranteed to go to heaven as long as you believe? It's really remarkable to me how people can be so brain dead and have such brain rot on such a astonishing level. It's very strange.
Yeah, man, and that's what they're like. All you got to do is accept Jesus in your heart, and you're good. You're going to the kingdom, and you convince your buddies to do it. You're going; they'll be there too. So
Yeah, it's really sad, really
it's
sad. But hey, just like you said in the comments, man, hopefully that Neo kid, he can take that lesson, that whooping that I gave him, and hopefully he can learn from that and see his mistakes there. So hopefully that's the direction that he goes with from that conversation.
yeah. At least that guy, he seemed like he was willing to like learn something, take something out of it. I feel like he could come
Right.
around. But man, like these other guys that are like relentless with like the free grace and all that, once saved, always saved, dude. They're they're never gonna like change their viewpoint, I don't think.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny, Galapagos, because I just recently read the entire New Testament again. I believe I read the New Testament maybe like what 15 times now over the years, but went back again and recently read it. And one verse that stuck out to me was was that First Timothy 4 verse 1. It says, "No, brethren, that in the last times some will depart from the faith." And I was thinking to myself, it's like, wait, this is such a hard hitting point to free grace or to once saved always saved. It's like if you can just believe once and you're saved forever, but why the hell is it warning us about in the last time some people will depart from the faith? That literally means that they stop believing in it. So how the hell are they saved forever if the Bible literally says they can turn and depart from the faith? I mean, that's such a hard hitting point. I don't know how they can get around it. We got to tap dance around it.
Yeah, I remember Perry tried saying, what was it? The Church of Philadelphia, getting
Yeah.
taken out. He was like, "That's us. That's me." Like he was like, "That's me." He's like, "Yeah, all those people departing from the faith." He's like, That's after we leave, and you guys are still stuck here. Yeah, that's you guys getting stranded." Like what?
Hilarious, man. But when you deal with Perry, a literal absolute knockout to this guy, a literal, code blue verse to go to is Revelation chapter 2, because they say that no sin, a believer can't commit any sin, but yet in Revelation chapter 2, Christ literally names 7 congregations of believers that are committing sins, and he tells them to repent of it. So why the hell is Christ telling believers to stop doing sins after they believed on him and after his resurrection from the dead, which I thought that he already did away with all the sins? So why the hell is he telling them this after his resurrection? I mean, it's such a hard hitting example to bring up, and he has no response. All he can do is say, well, you don't know. That's all the guy got.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. They don't know what the heck's going on.
Hey, a good analogy, man, is they're just like an ostrich with its head stuck in the ground. That's what all these free gracers, imperialism, and full preterists. That's what these guys are. Like say for instance, like a point I always bring up to these guys, like partial preterists. I asked them, well, how the hell is the church dwelling safely? Because they'll tell us, well, Christians are dwelling safely in the world. It's like, well, how many churches are getting burned down around the world, or shot up around the world, or what about the
Dude.
hundreds of
Oh
churches in
my God, I'm
Ukraine
glad you
that
said
are
that.
getting shelled? What about the churches in Ukraine that are literally getting shelled and torn apart in the war going on over there? So how the hell are they dwelling safely today? Makes no
I'm
sense.
glad you said that. I want to, add on to that. But yeah, man, because it's like the Orthodox bros will be like, dude, convert to Orthodoxy. It's the right path. It's the only path. God's glory will be in God's glory, and He's gonna save us. It's like, dude, you guys, your churches are getting literally blown up right now, shot up, etc., getting shelled in Ukraine. But y'all are supposedly like the ones that are, God's finest, like the cream of the crop, and He's going to save you guys. Those people aren't getting saved right now. They're getting torn to shreds, like literally. And then
Right.
on the other hand of that, the Christians here will be like, oh, like God's going to protect all of us. Jesus is watching over all of us. We're all, going to get saved. Just, have faith in Him, and we're all getting out of here. But it's like, look, there's what they don't know is, well, maybe some of them know is there's Christians in the Middle East too. And you look at just what just happened over there in Syria, those Muslim rebel groups, like considered like radicals, just took over that whole place. So you think those Christians are going to be able to just go to their church and, because in the past, whenever that happens, man, those Christians get slaughtered. It's happened before, like with ISIS and all that. Like those Christians, they don't just let them walk around and, do their own religion. It's either they convert to Islam or they get just killed outright. So I don't know where
Right.
these like
Right.
free gracers or these orthodoxy people get this mentality that, hey, if you're one of us, you're saved. Like you'll be protected, nothing's gonna happen to you. Like reality says something else, man. I'm sorry.
Right. I hear you, man. Like a whole nother point with these full preterists, it's like they'll tell me that all nations are obedient to Christ right now today. And I try not to laugh at these guys to put on a good show for the audience, but it's hard to hold back the laughter. It's like, well, how the hell could all nations be in obedience to Christ if most nations on earth will allow you to worship other gods? Matter of fact, there's nations out there trying to ban the Bible, not only in public schools, but even in public libraries or whatever. And what about all these nations accepting a rainbow marriage, among all the other atrocities and garbage that Christ is clearly against? So how the hell are the nations in obedience to Christ right now? You
Dude,
ask them and they look at you like a damn zombie. They have no idea.
yeah, man, I saw something recently. Spain, they're predominantly Catholic over there. They just passed some kind of thing where they're trying to get rainbow marriage and abortions, put into their constitution so it can't get overruled by the next like election party, whoever wins. And I'm like, but they're mostly Catholics over there, and they're like, one with God. It's like, bro, I don't know, man. These people are just like going crazy unless they revise the Bible and they say, you know what, yeah, we'll give them a pass. That's fine. Those people can exist. That can happen. It's okay. But that's like it's just one of many things that are just contradicting their doctrine.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's beyond wild out here. The hell, like as I said earlier, man, this place is a clown show. But man, talk about the doctrines, man. It's completely wild out here. The garbage and nonsense that people believe on the internet these days. It's pretty remarkable to me. But hey, it's just a sign of the times.
It is really, man. It is really like we're getting close, like to the focal point of all this, and it's happened at like warp speed. No no pun intended with the Trump and
Right.
all that. It's literally like it's accelerating fast, man. These years are flying by, and things are just like going more and more off the rails. I don't know what it's
Yeah,
gonna
I
look
hear
like
you.
in 2 years, 3 years, but man, I remember we were sitting here in these streams in like 2020, 2022. And we're like, dude, it can't get worse than this. And now look where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy what's going on, man. Like as I said earlier, you have the Third World War opening up on multiple different fronts here, but yet these guys want to sit on YouTube all day like these full preterists and say everything's all peaches and cream. It's
Dude,
hilarious.
dude,
It's
I
amazing.
remember when Primal Man was still a preterist, I would tell him, we'd tell him about the war in Ukraine. He'd be like, yeah, but is that really going on? Like, it could be fake. Like, and then finally, like stuff started escalating. That war's still going on. I remember him saying something like, "Oh, it's gonna be over soon. That thing's all fake. Nothing's happening." And then look, it's still going on. It's escalating. And then you got the China stuff going on. They're, like hacking our infrastructure, threatening to cut off, shipments to us for our like electronics, because China's
Right.
like the only country that produces all these chips that they need for many things from phones to like cars, just about all fields. And in the middle of all of that, man, the Europeans, they're suffering hard, man, because whatever happens to us, it's going to affect them like tenfold. So the whole world's kind of feeling it right now, but he's somewhere like living on some land and on an acre and in the kingdom. And it's like, dude, I'd probably feel like I'm in the kingdom too if I was in the middle of nowhere, had my own land, my own animals, and I didn't have to deal with anybody or go to the store or anything. Like, I'd
Yeah.
probably be in my own personal kingdom too. But that's
Right.
that's not they all got slapped in the face recently, with the reality check, and I think that's why they all disappeared.
Yeah, man. I mean, and in a way, it's a good thing. These guys are disappearing off YouTube because either they're realizing they were wrong and can maybe get it right one day, or just lose interest in it. Like even before you were around, I used to hang out with a couple cats like Rockapon and Ridge Napper was around. You can ask him about these guys; he knows them. Like Kyle or Loving Christian. A lot of these guys were on there for a couple years, but then over time they lose interest and just go back into the world. Which it's funny because free gracers would say, well, yeah, those guys are saved forever, even if they turn to Satanism.
That's
Let
insane.
me even tell you
That
something.
is wild.
Listen here, Galapagos. Jackass 77, what that Jackass 77, which is like one of these high supreme leaders in the free grace movement, he literally said, you can worship the devil and do sacrifices and you're still saved as long as you believe Jesus one time.
That is
It's amazing.
insane. That's just crazy, man.
Right,
That
absolutely, man. Like even this guy I had earlier when you came on, this guy, Layman Seminary, which I call him, he's the layman cemetery. Because he's not teaching people the truth. He's leading people astray. He's putting people back to sleep. That's what he's doing over there at the Layman Cemetery channel. But I even asked him at the beginning of our conversation, like, do you believe that like a 6-year old can just say they believe in Jesus and then they'll say forever? He was like, yes, as long as they truly believe for like 1 second, they're saved the rest of their life forever. And then I asked him, it's like, well, what if, say, if they leave the faith like 15 years later and for the rest of their life, are they still saved? The guy's like, oh, absolutely, they're saved forever as long as they believe one time. It's just truly remarkable and astonishing that people could be so dumbed down by these, garbage doctrines.
By that logic, man, you really don't even have to be a Christian to be saved then, because you could be a dang like Hindu and they recognize Jesus as at least at some point, and then in Islam, they even though they think it was a body swap on the cross, they still believe Jesus was a real person and he did some things and like existed. So um
Yeah, that's a
they're
great
they're all
point you bring up.
everybody's saved at that point, and even the Jews, they only go by the Torah, but they don't think Jesus was divine or anything, but they still recognize that he existed. So by that logic, man, hell, everybody's saved.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, and you know what the absolute kick in the ass to these guys are, like the absolute nail in their coffin here is what about, because again, it's everybody that believes, right? But the Bible says even the devils fear and believe. So by their logic, even Satan and demons are going to get saved because they even fear and believe. Like if you read Mark 5, they fear Christ and acknowledge him as the Son of God. So even James 2 says the demons and devils fear and tremble and believe. So according to these free gracers, even demons got to get salvation because hey, they believe, right? It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's wild, man. And it's like if everything was peachy clean, free grace was the way, and to a successful family life, etc. Then why is like reality showing the opposite of that? Why are there record low births all over the world in all these countries? Why are more people, like faithless now than ever before? Why are relationships hardly any people are dating, interacting with one another, even getting married? That's a whole other thing. Dude, the few people that I know that got married, young people like around my age bracket, most of them are already divorced. Like they didn't last very long. And not to mention, a lot of the women that or girls that went to my like high school, most of them are single moms now. They are not with that guy, and nobody's picking up the plate to be stepdad. Like, and they're all Christian. They're all Christian. They all, claim Jesus and everything. So it's like, if that's the foundation for a, successful life, it's Jesus is going to be a little surprised when he returns. And he's like, why aren't y'all a family? Why does that kid have like 5 different daddies? Like, what's going on, man? Like something's wrong here. But they claim Jesus once. They don't got to abide
Right,
by
right.
nothing. They're fine. They can go drink alcohol. The women can go clubbing and like dress like non-modest, and do whatever the heck they want because they claim Jesus once they're saved.
Right, right. Hey, and don't forget, all the nations on earth, they're all in obedience to Christ. Their laws and regulations are all in accordance with Bible law. It's like, how can anybody be so retarded to believe this garbage in 2024? It just, again, I just don't even know a word to describe it at this point. It's just, these guys are brain dead zombies. That's the best thing I can come up with.
Yeah, man. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Kyrie comes out as Moses again and like does his little Moses arc and like gets another following, because I think he could do it definitely in 2024.
Oh, and
Um,
you know what?
I,
Yeah, I hear you, man. But you know what? Another good point I want to show. It's like, how the hell are we in Christ's kingdom with him ruling if you have all these imposters and fake Christ everywhere? Like, wouldn't Christ actually do something about this if he was ruling? Like, say for example, we have Samuel Owen. He's a fruitcake himself, sitting there on High Holy Hill, New Jerusalem trailer park, ruling the world with a damn long knight sword and a broomstick. Then over in Kenya, we got a dude with 1 million followers, and he literally has people that want to crucify him for saying that he's Christ. We have that going on. We have literally 100,000 people in the world that claim that they're Jesus to some degree or another. So how the hell is that going on if the true Christ is ruling the world right now? Wouldn't he put these people down? Wouldn't they be brought before his feet and slain, like it says in Luke 19:27? Those are my enemies, bring them and slay them at my feet. Like, why the hell is that not happening if Christ is ruling the earth right now? I mean, these guys are just so far gone, it's amazing to me.
yeah, man, it's wild. I'm seeing like so many insane things. I'm surprised like every week, when I open YouTube, when I see some new Christian video, my suggestions, and it's some new theory or doctrine. Like it's just wild. I've seen it all. I've seen the Old Testament God is a dragon. The Jesus is Satan. Jesus and Satan are like one in this split being. God was actually Satan and Jesus is his son. I've seen it all, man. Like
Yeah,
it just keeps
I'll even
happening.
add to that.
It just
I'll
keeps
even add to
happening.
that. We got people saying that God is a woman. We got people out there saying God is a transformer, read between the line. We got people out there saying the Bible itself is the MOTB, Revelation 13:16. Got dummies saying that Mystery Babylon is the Vatican City. It's just, it's amazing. It just doesn't end with the garbage that people believe on the internet. It's shocking.
We need to just compile a list of like all these doctrines and just see how many we could find.
Oh yeah, man. It's a
It's
hell of a
getting
long
crazy,
list.
man. It's really worrisome where I think Christianity is going to go, because at this point it's like we're reaching this point in time where it's like anything kind of goes. Oh, you're a Christian? No, it doesn't matter your denomination. Whatever, you believe, yeah, it's fine. Peachy clean. We can all, coexist and, do our little thing and all that. And it's just it's fine, whatever. Like
Yo,
it's
something
almost
to
like
add on to
you
that.
know you know how they say like there's going to be a one world religion.
Right.
What if it's not necessarily a one world religion, but it's like a like like a co-opted like kind of structure where it's like you have all these religions and then you have all these doctrines of Christianity all in one kind of field, and they're like, oh yeah, guys, we can all just be together, we can all just, you know, like agree with put bygones away and, you know, do whatever. And I think that's kind of where it's going, man, because like these people, they're just, you know, they're comfortable with, you know, what they believe in.
Yeah, man, it's strange. Like so I want to add on to that. Like the one brother Luke from Australia. Shout out to him if he's listening to the stream. But he sent me a video last year for the Super Bowl, and there was literally a church that what they did to try to get, you know, an audience to come to the church and, you know, engage with the community. They did like a Super Bowl kick in the church, and they literally kicked the Bible across the church like a Super Bowl football. It was shocking, astonishing, and this was going on inside a Christian church for the Super Bowl event. You know, it's crazy to me. You
Dude, I
know,
was
it's just
watching a
crazy.
video from GMS New Orleans. I forgot the guy specifically that I watch. He puts out some good videos. He was showing one clip, and it was like some Baptist church, and I think the pastor had a stroke or something, and he was like, the Most High strike him down because they were basically, you know, going up there and doing that thing that the Baptists always do. They start speaking in tongues and act like they're having a seizure, and like God, the Holy Spirit's coming through them, and they start dancing and doing all this crazy like theatrical stuff, right? And
Yeah.
he's just like, look at these like wicked like people, man. Like they're all, you know, putting on a front. They're just doing it for money. They don't actually believe in God. They're, you know, just all playing an act. And it's really disgusting, man. Like here in like 2024 with all that's going on, there's still it's obvious just like a money laundering scheme, you know what I'm saying? Like all they want is
Yeah.
that those donations, that's it. You know, they'll do backflips on stage, bring somebody in, act like they're having a stroke. Oh, you know, Jesus just spoke to me. He said this, y'all all saved. Hallelujah. It's like it's stupid, man. It's
Right.
so dumb. And then I remember during the Corolla thing, they were all saying because I remember I knew somebody that went to a Baptist church and they left, you know, because they were pushing that over there. And the pastor I guess was getting some kind of incentive from the like nearby hospitals if he could convince like his people to, you know, take the thing. And he was like, it's not your body, it's Christ's body. You know, y'all all need to take that. And it's like, bro, nah, that's crazy. That's wild. Like I'm glad that
Yo, let
person
me let
woke
me
up,
tell you
but
something on
that's
that.
insane.
Like these cats at the ISUPK Israelite group, their leader, this guy, General Johanna, this guy got that Corolla Yab. Listen here, the reason why he got it, he said it was for his own personal health and safety.
Bro. That's crazy. That is
Like, hey,
wild,
it says
man.
in the Apocrypha, I believe that's Ecclesiasticus 12 and verse 10, it says, never trust your enemy, for as iron rust, so does his wickedness. So it's like, why the hell would y'all run to your enemy and get these mystery juices if the Bible says don't trust your enemy? It's remarkable to me, you know, and it's crazy. So he got that mystery juice for his own personal health and safety. It's like, wow, you know, I can't even believe that.
Yeah, and I mean, especially if you're you know, a black person, it's like you don't even have to go that far back, you know, to like the Tuskegee um
Right.
you know, event where they were, you know, injecting black people with syphilis and saying that it was actually, you know, something to protect them. And they were just running an experiment just to see what would the effects of it be on those people. And a lot of them died. And even what's going on in Africa with like Bill Gates and all them, like you see all these outbreaks always coming out of the Congo and everything. And it's like, dude, all you got to do is go back 6 months and see what they were injecting all those kids with in that village. It's like no wonder there always stuff spawning out of there. It's
Right. I hear you.
and I saw something on the news recently. It was like some new disease or something coming out of there, and it's like every single time, man. It's they go over, they give them something that's supposed to protect them, and just something bad happens, and then it makes its way over here.
Yeah, I hear you. Believe it or not, man, it's been 5 years now officially since that Corolla was first spotted because it didn't start over in the United States until February, but it first happened in China in in December 2020. So yeah, this month it's technically been 5 years that it's been going around. And it's still going around. Like, I mean, people are not getting as frequent, but it's still going around today. It never went away fully.
You know how it is with those whatchamacallit, you know how it is with those like agendas, they like to do
Yeah,
things in patterns where they'll wait a couple of years and they'll be like, oh, on this exact day, this is the anniversary of this thing. And then another thing will happen. Um, Man, I
right.
wouldn't be surprised, with like how bad the economy is getting, how they have to blame it on something or a country. I wouldn't be surprised if before Trump gets in, or if Trump gets in office, a little after that, if that happens, I wouldn't be surprised, man, if March rolls around again. Like another thing, they do something, either like another
Yeah, I
disease
mean,
thing or a war. That they got to blame it on something. And this is exactly where we were 5 years ago. The economy was kind of going down. We were having bad relations with other countries, uh, and it was just kind of quiet. And then March, slowly news comes out of China, and then boom, lockdown. So
yeah, again, we're at a point right now where literally anything can happen any day. Like hell, we're so close right now to a nuclear weapon being used. Like I don't know if you've seen, but like literally what last week, Russia shot a new ballistic missile that was capable of carrying a nuclear weapon on it, and it hit Ukraine with that. So we're literally just one step away. All they have to do is put a nuclear warhead on the tip of one of those things, and that's the first nuclear weapon that they're using. You know what I'm saying? So we're that literally that close now. They're just one step away from using one of those weapons. And everybody walks around out here and like literally forgets. Like you see these dummies walking around, everybody forgets that we're living through the biggest war since the Second World War right now. And nobody seems to really care. Everybody seems to like lost interest in that subject. It's bizarre to me. You watch these people out here walk around like brain dead zombies. They don't got a damn clue what the hell is going on, right? They're more concerned about if Will Smith is gonna smack somebody again, this year. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, they're worried about that damn that guy that killed that dude in New York and all that, and they're
Oh
running the
yeah,
headlines with
yeah,
that. And it's like,
right.
dude, we got way bigger stuff going on. Like, so many people die like every single day, and like senseless killings and stuff. And you guys are hyper focused on this. You got like all these other things. You got these UFO sightings in New Jersey and all this stuff. I think even
Yeah,
near the DC, there was like some UFO sightings, and
right,
um, you got just so many things happening. I hated it at the time when it was going on, like the lockdown and stuff. Even though in my area there wasn't really an enforceable lockdown, like I was still going out and doing my thing, and the cops didn't stop me or nothing. They even made a notice and were like, "Hey, our department's so small, we can't enforce this lockdown." But dude, it
right,
was kind of funny, man, just to see all these people, say, oh, like, I'm never going to do this or I'm never going to do that. And then when push came to shove, those lockdowns happened and they went out and did this, or they weren't even forced to do it. They were just like, oh, I'm scared. I don't want to get that thing. And let me go get it for
right,
my
right.
protection, even though like, it might hurt me, but, I don't want to get that big C, it might knock me off. And they're like young people, getting scared of this. And it's, honestly, man, I'm gonna laugh if they do another lockdown 2.0 and people just do the same exact thing, because I just want to expose them again. Be like, oh yeah, all the those people over there that said they were never gonna do this or never gonna do that. They're free, blessed by the blood of the lamb and all that. Well, here they are, going getting a rooster round two, like mystery rooster and
Yeah,
all this and that, like all these people, because I'm telling you, man, again, it's gonna be people like me, you, maybe like Rudy 2 liter, etc. It's going to be the same basket of folks on here talking, doing our what we're doing now, while these other people are doing quadruple cartwheels, backflips, jumping through flaming hoops for this system, doing whatever, to keep in line. Dude, the
shit. Just like
guys were going out there.
Apostle Ramlob, just like Apostle Ramlob said, right? They'll be jumping through hoops of fire with their pants soaked in gasoline.
Yeah, man, they're doing circus acts for these people, man, these demons. Dude, I remember during that whole fiasco, man, dudes were literally getting that juice just to go to the movies with their girlfriend. They're like, oh, well, I gotta take my girlfriend somewhere. It's like, bro, you let your girl run your life? Like, that's so lame. That's such a beta freaking thing, man. And
Yeah,
like
yeah,
likewise,
it's
like
pathetic.
the alternative,
Absolutely
it's so,
pathetic.
it is pathetic. Like at least with women, you can kind of give them a little bit of leeway because, especially young women, they're more susceptible to these types of things. Push come to shove,
Right.
coercion, and if they're not pushed, if they're not guided in the right path, if they have no guidance, they're gonna go out and do bad stuff. But with men, you're supposed to be strong, bro. You're supposed to have a spine. You're not supposed to just bend over and go out and do all these stupid things that the government tells you to do just to because they told you to do it or your girlfriend told you to do it. That you're not a man if you just bend your will to any of them and like do that type of stuff. You're only supposed to like bend your will to God and that's it.
Right. Yo, one thing I'm going to tell you, because I got to end it in a couple minutes, but I was on with Nick maybe a couple months ago, and showed me this video, this rainbow pastor, and one thing that he brought up, he tried to go to a verse where it says that Lazarus came out of the tomb, right? Christ told Lazarus to come out of the tomb, and this guy was saying, well, look, he told him to come out, so that basically meant, like in modern terms, like come out of the closet as far as like his gayness. I was thinking to myself, it's like, what the hell? This guy's taking a verse where it says Lazarus come out of the tomb to literally show that it's saying like sexually come out as being a rainbow. It's remarkable to me. It's remarkable. And you know what is funny? Because as this guy was in the church giving a message, the electric completely went out just as this guy was talking about this rainbow stuff.
You can't make this up, man. Dude, it's like I saw that thing in Sweden. Some of those people over there already took the chip, man, and they got roostered. Those people are
Yeah.
down for anything, and now they're doing the test right now. They got an AI Jesus in the church, taking people's confessions.
Wow. It's crazy, man. It's
And
crazy.
he didn't even look like Jesus, bro. He looks like some it just looks like some Arab dude, some Pakistani guy. It's wild, bro. It's it's insane. All this, I just kind
Yeah,
of got to laugh
absolutely.
at it, man. You can't really take it seriously because
Yeah,
the
I mean, seriously, man. Like, if you read Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21, there's no way anybody can tell me that we're not seeing that today. Like these full preterist idiots. It's like, how can y'all say this all already happened 2,000 years ago? And if it did, well, why the hell is it happening right now today? Like, seriously, everything that he mentioned there is literally happening on a daily basis at this point. So how the hell can anybody tell me that we're not living in those times that he warned about? It just doesn't make sense to me.
it's yeah, dude. Like I said, man, it's wild. Like I saw some preterist videos. They're like, oh, or what is it like? We're in the little season, and Christ is about to do the millennium reign or something like that. I've been seeing a couple of videos like that, and it's like, dude, you people are just out of your rocker. Like it's crazy, man. They're out of their
Yeah, it's
minds.
bizarre, man. It's bizarre. And you know what's funny? Because it's like, what hope do these people have? Like these guys that believe that we're in eternity right now, because it's like all of us are going to perish one day if Christ don't come back. But if you guys believe that we're already in eternity right now, well, what the hell hope is it for you guys then? Because where the hell are y'all going to go when you pass away if we're already in the kingdom of heaven right now?
You know
And
what
they
I
don't
think,
have any answer.
ETT? Honestly, bro, I think, like I said before, give it a couple of years. You think these people are bugged out now? They're gonna be really, really bugged out in like 5 years down the line because they're probably banking on Christ. The ones that believe we're in the kingdom, they're gonna quickly realize we're not, and they're gonna go and
Right.
probably go crazy. And then they're gonna scramble to a different doctrine, like maybe Parism. And then the Christians, the
Right.
free gracers that believe, Christ is gonna return like this year, next year. They keep shooting out all these stupid dates, like these watchmen, or these watch women. Uh, oh, I had a dream. Christ said he's going to return in December, or this and that, like this and
Oh
that. Like
yeah.
they're always wrong. And there's going to come a point, man. It's going to get so bad that I think they're just going to bug out, man, because they're going to like get impatient. They're going to pull a T-Mog basically, or pull a Rooney, or
Right.
um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
God forbid. Rest in peace, good servant, man. But like
Yeah.
that brother, he was struggling with like some substances, and
Right.
at this point, man, it's like, what's their limit? Because even with how far they are with that doctrine, there's going to come a point, man, where reality is going to have to slap them in the face, and they're going to have to be like, I can't, keep lying to myself like this no more. Things really are bad. I can't keep saying Jesus is going to return next week, tomorrow, this next month, because it just hurts even more every time I give out a date and he doesn't show up. And these
Yeah,
people
like,
don't even lose
what,
credibility.
Galapagos, I remember back in I want to say 2 years ago, there was a guy who came on my comment board, like literally, I kid you not, every other week the guy would come on the comment board and leave like a whole paragraph, 10-minute long stance about why he thinks the rapture is going to happen this exact week on this exact day. Literally week after week, month after month, this guy would come back and keep saying the same thing. I think to myself, it's like, dude, save yourself the effort and don't even put the comment there, because none of us want to see that shit. We don't believe that garbage. The Bible says nobody knows that day or that hour. Bible says it's not going to happen until after the great tribulation. Don't come here with that garbage. You can go waste your time somewhere else.
Yeah, I know, man. It's really insane. I remember Grace Through Faith. I don't know if he's still around. He said like some guy that went on some journey, came back and said that Jesus was going to return sometime this year. I think it was in like August or September. Anyways, it didn't happen. And it's like, so what happens now? Did they just shoot out another date? It's crazy, man. But a lot of these folks, they don't lose credibility. Their followers just keep following. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Christ gave me new light. He said that this is actually going to be the day, or this day, or this day, and it's here's my PayPal, and you can donate. By the way, and
Yeah, like
oh shit.
Galapagos. I remember back in school, I used to watch this channel. Not that I believed it, but I used to check out this channel called Still Small Voice, and it was ran by this woman named Claire. And she would say, like every other week, if she had a dream of the rapture that it would happen on such and such day. She had like 50,000 subs. And she's still on there to this very day talking about that garbage, and people are still subbing and sending in super chats and donations. It's like, y'all, even after 10 plus years, it's like y'all can't figure out that this person is just pulling y'all leg. It's like y'all can't figure that out. It's just strange.
Yeah, man, it's getting so tiresome, bro, with all these people. But like I said, to my viewpoint, they're like just background characters, like in a movie. Just you set the place on fire, they go on fire, you make like a flood happen, they drown, whatever. Um, they just go along with whatever happens, and like everything happens to them. Like they tell them to do A and B, they'll do A, B, C, and D. Um, with
Hey,
with no
as the saying goes, monkey see, monkey do.
100%, man, 100%. It's crazy that just 5 years ago, I was in the dang post office sending off a package, and because I didn't have a mask on, I had like an old lady say, "Oh, I'm a killer," and this and that, and like, golly, like, the wicked spirit really came out of you, like just calling me like a murderer and stuff because I don't have a mask on and I don't do what y'all do. And the same thing with the store, people hassling me over that, and now it's like, oh, it's all fine. Like these
Right,
people are
right.
so easily programmed, man. The second the government flips that switch and says, y'all got to go back to doing this, we got this new disease out there and this and that. Oh, they'll do it.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. You can manipulate and change people's mind. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I remember growing up, and just 5 years ago, you could go and buy cigarettes at 18. Now everybody repeats that you have to be 21. And if they see an 18-year-old smoking, they'll be like, oh, well, that's, ignorant and irresponsible. But yet, if it was 5 years ago, they'd be like, oh, well, that's just a responsible adult expressing their freedom. So it just shows that you can change and alter people's mentality and their views by just telling them what something is. It's amazing how easy it is to manipulate people. Like, people think we're living on this floating rock in space just because they see a couple of pixelated pictures on TV.
Oh,
It's
dude,
just pretty
ETT,
bizarre.
I'm glad I know we don't have that much time left on the stream, but dude, I'm glad you brought that up, man, because have you noticed that like they're not really putting out that much stuff with like space anymore? Like even I think even the NPCs, they're trying to question it because they recently came out with a movie called We Didn't Go or something like that, but it was like a space movie from NASA. And the
Right.
basic premise of it was they had to fool the Soviet Union into thinking we went to the moon because we wanted to be the first ones to say that we, made it and like beat them at the
Right.
space race. But in the movie, they make the point. They say we did actually go, but we had to, fake it first and like tell them that we didn't go. And it's
Yeah.
like it's crazy, man. And like you
You
see
know,
them all
it's
talking about all that Mars and the moon, the dark side of the moon still and all that. And yeah, I don't know if you remember the NASA, I think, put out something a couple of years back, man. I think it was during the CV, and they said that they were going to blow up the ISS before 2040. I think 2030 something. They were going to blow up the ISS or something like that, and bring it down. So it's like, yeah, man. This stuff's just even it's reaching a point where I wouldn't be surprised if they come out and throw us a bone and they're like, yeah, guys, y'all were right. It doesn't move, and
I
they
don't know
won't.
if NASA's
Yeah.
sales are low or something because I was just at Dollar Tree today, right? But hey, if Rudy's listening, right, I was at my own personal adult playground, the Dollar Tree. Inside joke, shout out to the Wolf Pit. And I was looking, and I found a NASA hat there for they wanted $5 for it in the Dollar Tree Plus section. But then in the dollar section, they had NASA socks. I was like, oh shit! So I got NASA socks and a NASA hat under $10 for both of them. So I don't know if NASA's sales are down or something. I don't know why the hell they were there, but I thought that was pretty funny.
Probably, man. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't see that many people walking around wearing like NASA merch anymore. It's just nothing adds up with what they're saying, man. So I just
Right.
wouldn't be surprised. Like I don't know how much longer they can like keep pushing this like space stuff.
Yeah, man. Hey, the world's on the verge of waking up at this point. They're making too many mistakes and slip ups. I mean, hey, the cat's out of the bag at this point, as the saying goes.
Yeah, we got the best seats in the house, man. We know what's going on. We're just kicked up, and, just ready for this shit show to end, basically.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember Shrek used to talk about how, hey, look, the people that can fit into the stream, we not to boast or anything, but we got more knowledge than 99% of the people on this earth. The ideas and verses that we could spit, and ideas that we can throw back and forth on these streams. We're deeper than deep at this point. Hell, I'm challenger deep, max level on here. But man, we're way ahead of the curve of these people.
We got
We're far ahead.
yeah, we got a master's degree in the truth. We got the only degree that matters.
Right, right. Hey, at the end of the day, when Christ comes back, none of these, PhDs or, diplomas are gonna save you. But what is gonna save you is your knowledge and understanding of these scriptures.
Yeah, man. If you if you know what's going on, dude, shout out, give yourself a pat on the back because most of these people, despite everything that's happened, they still don't. And
Yeah, value yourself because hey, we're in the light. Us over here on this page and fellow pages, we're in the light. We're standing with Christ in that light. But the other people like Perry, these free gracers and the Christianity and all these other people in the world, they're in the darkness, right? They are in the darkness. We are in the light. So we have to respect that position that God put us in. Because hey, he didn't have to choose us. He could have chose another person, but hey, he chose us, so we have to be thankful that we were the chosen ones out of the many.
yeah, we could easily be those, bugged out Christians or just bugged out people that are doing handstands for this system and like doing whatever they tell us to do and, still have a clouded like view, have that veil over us. But, God lifted that and, we're able to like see the bigger picture.
Right, right. But yo, Galapagos, I thank you for coming on, man. It was a good conversation, but I gotta wrap the stream up tonight. All right.
Oh yeah, man, it's all good. I just wanted to, drop in, say what's up.
Yeah,
That was
that's
a good
cool,
stream,
man. It
man.
was
You
good to
do this
have you
again.
on.
Yeah, man. You
Yeah.
do that next time. I'll probably join.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's been a long time since I talked to you. I know we go back and forth on Discord texting, but it's been a while since we were on stream having a conversation, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it has been a minute, but yeah, dude. I hope everything's like well and you stay in good health and all that.
You as well, my friend. But I'll catch you around. All right.
All right, man. Take care. Stay safe.
You as well. All right. So let me see real quick. So that was Brother Galapagos. He's a cool brother. He's been, a good friend of the channel for multiple years, hell, back from the Shreg days. So it was good bringing him up. It also was interesting to bring Charles up here from the Layman Seminary. Interesting conversation with him. Got to give him respect that he came up for the dialogue. But we are 3.5 hours in. Damn, I thought it was only going to go an hour tonight, but stretch it to already 3.5 hours. So pretty interesting. If anybody made it to the end of the stream, go ahead and put hashtag. We'll say GTF, right? GTF. We'll give him a shout out since he's been here. So hashtag GTF if you made it to the end of the live stream. And with that being said, I'm going to say shalom.